Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our USBE Standards and Assessment Committee. I'm Randy Booth, and also here from the board in person, we have Vice Chair Jenny Earl. We expect to have two more of our committee from the board joining us via Zoom, and hopefully makes it from work this morning. She'll board member Real will join us as well. We're so happy to welcome everyone here, and we've got a great agenda with some important items to consider. We're going to begin by turning some time to Deputy Superintendent Patty Norman, who will recognize some outstanding achievements with our coaching endorsements.
Thank you. I am so excited to talk to you today about this recognition. So first of all, I'm going to just say, here's our Katie right here, Katie Dewey Hill. And this is an exciting one because it's always good to see the work that you've done as a board and what that looks like in implementation moving forward, and then the success that's achieved and what that really means to our educators and students once these decisions have been made. And so Katie's done an incredible job getting the water to the end of the row in a way that not only has grown this, but has made everybody want to come and plant more seeds. I just made that right now. Beautiful. Anyways, this is about Katie. So anyways, first of all, the Utah State Board of Education's mission is to open doors of opportunity for all Utah children. This month, we highlight the work of the Strategy 2B Committee in building capacity for high-quality professional learning across Utah through developing LEA-based instructional coaching endorsement courses. So in the fall of 2020, the first cohorts of USBE-led Train the Trainer cohorts of coaching leaders began with the aim of building capacity for high-quality professional learning for developing instructional coaches in LEAs across the state. Those who completed the 3 courses and the Train the Trainer components included were then authorized to facilitate the endorsement courses in their LEAs. These amazing leaders were also allowed to train other facilitators who could continue to build the capacity of the LEA to share their professional learning with more educators. They were provided with support for facilitation skills and the materials and technology to facilitate a similar program in alignment with the USBE professional learning standards for their educators. The instructional coaching endorsement programs they are leading are aligned with both the USBE expectations for instructional coaching complete competency, as well as the LEA-specific instructional priorities for their educators. Now, I have a list, and if you wanted to go onto Civic Clerk, and you will see, for those of you in here, this is the first list, but it goes on. And we have the entire second list, and then we have the folks that, and I'm going to let Katie just say just a minute about what this has been for her. So through these LEA-based programs, more than, and here's the drum roll, more than 850 educators have had opportunity to take these courses, and most have gone on to ultimately earn the instructional coaching endorsement. These leaders, coaches, and teachers have reported that they've experienced more growth than ever offered before around instructional coaching through their involvement with the courses. The program design has enabled us to make important strides in fulfilling the vision of the goal to be Strategy B, to assist districts and schools in providing continuous personalized professional learning for each educator and leader. So Katie, do you want to say a few things about the program?
It's been one of the most rewarding things of my professional career to just see how, if you help LEAs and give them something they can use, they're just so grateful and eager to use it to grow their professional learning coaches. Because most of us who've been coaches I always say, like, we are as good as we figure out how to be. And so the LEAs have really just done an incredible job of taking advantage of this opportunity to really be more explicit about what are the expectations for coaches and have it be a more focused role that reinforces the instructional priorities locally. And they're doing something that we couldn't do from this office. They're taking it to more, and I've just been really proud of them and what they've done, and that the coaches are so receptive to wanting to learn how to be a strong coach, be relevant and useful for their teachers. And it's just been very cool to see this. And I just have found my home in Utah, and that I think that this is the best place ever to be involved in the education field, just because of all of the supports that are available. And this is a testament to that. So I'm just proud of our people in the field and what they're doing.
Well, Katie, when I think of it next, I think of the next level of influence from 800 plus instructional coaches that have gone through the program, and you think of all the other teachers that have been influenced and that will be influenced in the future, and then the kids.
Yeah.
It's really heartening and thrilling, actually, to know that in the middle of all the trouble and all the problems and all the every other things that we deal with from one day to the next, that under cover, as it were, these kinds of good things are happening and stirring amongst our professionals and leaders of learning, and that our children are going to be, for years to come, blessed by this excellent coaching. So thank you.
We thank you too. And I just appreciate the fact that it just shows these teachers want to be the best they can be for these kids. And that makes me so hopeful.
You know, I get a lot of, especially right now on the campaign circuit, I hear a lot of dissatisfaction being expressed by citizens who don't know. And we've got to do a better job of tooting our horn and letting them know the amazing things like this that are happening. Congratulations. We're going to keep doing this, all of this good stuff, because it's been going on forever. And no matter what the naysayers may say about public education, I love it. And it is great. And when we started in 1987 with our first child in kindergarten, since that time, we've been in the schools every week. We just decided we were going to be not helicopter hoverers, but we were going to be involved. And I sat in the hallways in the little chairs reading with my kids and all of their little friends when they were starting to read. And we just kept coming back week after week. And now 20 plus years on the board, a local board, and now on the state board, I welcome the privilege of being a part of the army of volunteers, mostly parents and grandparents that are privileged to work with our professionals. And we're going to keep this alive because, wow, some great things are happening for and with our children. And I think we can feel very proud of the successes. Yeah, we got some problems and we're working on it, and we'll continue to work on it, but we've been working on them for decades. And sometimes somebody smart will get this one right and that one right, and we'll little by little solve the problems that we have. And in the meantime, wow, what great things are happening. Keep it up. Thank you. We need 800 more. So that's we got a lot of kids moving into this state, and what they need are those well-prepared and supported educators to transform their lives. So thank you, Katie. It's really nice to take a moment and celebrate the good things. All right. I think we'll check. Has board member Green been able to join us yet?
Yes, she's online.
Welcome. And we're now waiting for board member Reel. But we will continue with our agenda with information item 1.2. And we have an opportunity to hear some public comment. Welcome, board member Reel.
Right.
Perfect timing. Wow, that's impressive. We're ready to hear from the public.
Yay.
Terrific. We have here in person from Granite School District, Judy Peterson. And she will be followed by Holly Jensen. And let's do those first two. Judy? Hey.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
It's good to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and to speak on behalf of this some revisions and some updates to the school counseling board rules. So I'm a former teacher, a school counselor, and most recently have been the director for college and career readiness in Granite School District, where I oversaw the implementation of the K-12 comprehensive school counseling program in Granite, which included 103 counselors and 70 social workers. I also oversaw the implementation in our district of positive behavior interventions and supports, or PBIS, as you've heard, and we're the one district in the state that has implemented positive behavior supports in all of our schools, even our high schools, which has been really a positive experience. I have had an opportunity to oversee federal grants, currently a federal Gear Up grant in Granite District associated with a partnership with Utah State University and other things. On the behavior side of the world, have had an opportunity to oversee the general education board certified behavior analysts in Granite District, the mental health grant, and many other things. In August of 2023, I retired after 45 years of experience in this great state in education. I've also been adjunct faculty for the master's programs in school counseling at the University of Utah, Utah State University, and Georgia Tech University in their Go Alliance initiative. Many years ago, I worked in this office. I was the first ever specialist for school counseling and career development at that time in Utah, at the State Office of Education at that time. My immediate supervisor was Dr. Lynn Jensen, and the CTE director at the time was Rob Brems. Some of you may be familiar with Rob. So at that time, my assignment was the statewide implementation of a comprehensive school counseling program. Comprehensive in the fact that it addresses the full continuum of supports for kids, from academic support, life skill development, and then future planning. I had the chance and a really great opportunity to go from local board to local board. After 5 years, I put 100,000 miles on my car as I traveled the state and really established a good foundation for the comprehensive school counseling program. So with that, I am very honored to be here in support of the updates. So I believe now it's around an every 6-year update. I relook at board rules to make sure that they're current, that they align with the way the world is changing, that we recognize how dynamic things are in this world and how we need to change and modify what we do to adjust to the needs of our students. And those needs are identified by the students themselves, by their parents, other family members, and by teachers and others who work in the school. And so I've read through all of the documents. I've been involved in some of the collaboration meetings regarding
the updates and revisions for the board rules, and I highly and strongly support them. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. The folks here at USBE have done some heavy lifting, and they've done a really good job. So when we started this program in 1988, here at the State Board of Education, little did we realize that this was going to be a school initiative, or if you will, program implementation that has withstood the test of time. And to see where we are now as the only state in the country that has a fully implemented comprehensive school counseling program with state law, state board rule, and all of our local school districts and charter school districts have the local LEAs have all adopted, and all 29 counties in Utah have adopted the comprehensive counseling program. And in our charter schools, the majority of our charter schools are moving in that direction. And as new charter schools come on board, they're adopting a comprehensive school counseling approach to supports and services for kids in their schools. That's that. Thank you.
Wow, we're just getting so much good news today. I don't know whether we can handle it. That's great. What a wonderful thing to have that perspective from the beginning of, I mean, you can't be as old as you must be. Describe this amazing unfolding of the counseling program across the whole state, because you look very young.
Well, thank you.
And I think probably working with the students and the leaders of learning across the state has kept you young.
Yeah, absolutely.
And involved. And so we express appreciation for your coming to be here and share these ideas. And we always appreciate support. What a concept. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
No, just
I'm
thank you
sure
for
as
all
we
you've done.
dive into the review in a few minutes, there will be lots of questions. We're grateful that you're here. Thank
Very good. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Chair Booth, I do not see Holly Jensen online,
you. You know,
but we do have Michelle online.
great. Well, then let's go to Michelle.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Booth, and other board members. I am Dr. Michelle Golightly, a current school counselor and previous USBE school counseling specialist. I am making comment on today's action items 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, and 1.8, which all pertain to school counseling. I worked very closely with USBE school counseling specialist Bethany Marker for over a year and a half to gather feedback, discuss revisions, and present to the board drafts of R2 77462 school counseling programs and R2 77464 school counselor direct and indirect services that reflect the needs and wants from the field, from administrators, educators, and of course from our students and parents. Comprehensive school counseling programs, supported through a low ratio of school counselors to students, provide all students with meaningful and necessary information, services, and referrals. School counselors are often referred to as the heart of the school, but their impact is not just anecdotal. Research on school counseling programs shows that school counselor ratios of 1 to 250 have a significant correlation with lower student absenteeism, higher SAT math, verbal, and writing scores, and also produce higher graduation rates, higher college entrance and persistence rates, lower chronic absenteeism rates, and fewer suspensions. But school counselors aren't just for secondary schools. School counselors help elementary age students increase their knowledge of occupations, raise their desire to pursue post-secondary education, and learn more about themselves. Multiple sources of evidence indicate that school counseling services in elementary schools is associated with improvements in student learning, behavior, and mental health. Please show that you are champions for students today by giving your support to school counselors and the comprehensive school counseling programs that they implement. Please pass these action items as presented by staff and show your community and constituents that you value all students being successful in K-12 and beyond.
Thank you very much, Michelle. We appreciate the opportunity to hear from you. How are we doing? Someone here that could give us a report on how close are we to one counselor for 250 students across the state?
You actually in May or June, every year get a report of the school counselor to student ratio as outlined in the board rule that will be discussed today. As a state overall, we are fairly close, but that is done at an LEA level. So an individual school may not have that ratio, but as an LEA, they may. And then if they do not reach that, they have their action plans that they submit to you. So I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but you can find them in backup from last year. And Bethany is working on those new updates of numbers right now, but I believe there's only 3 LEAs that are out of compliance on that.
Board Member Booth, may I?
Of
In
course.
Utah, the ratio is 1 to 350. Michelle was saying the ASCA is 1 to 250 is what they recommend. So when Michelle's talking about we have 3 that are not at the 1 to 350, it's 1 to 350. In Utah, none of ours are 1 to 250, maybe a few charters, but so she was just talking about that would be a great goal.
That'd be a great.
And Chair,
Yes,
may I take personal privilege?
of course.
Michelle, thank you so much. So those of you that don't know, Michelle has been with our office and she has a new opportunity now. And Michelle, do you want to tell your new opportunity and where you're at this point in time? Because, go ahead.
I'm back in the schools. I miss the students too much and I want to have a direct impact on them. So I am back being a school counselor. Just had a student in here watching board meeting with me as we chatted on a few things.
Yes. So she is able to finish, this is the last part of finishing this up. And so she came to give public comment today and we really appreciate that and all the work that you've done while you were here at USBE, and you'll be missed. So, and we're so excited that you're there with students. And I think all of us are jealous at the same time. So
Was the student in trouble? Because that kind of sounds like a punishment.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your service and how exciting for you to be back with our wonderful students, helping them make the choices and make the decisions that are going to lead to success in their educational journey. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Did we ever see Holly Jensen?
I don't see her online.
Okay. Well, then that will conclude.
It says that she texted me, Andrea.
Oh, did she?
She says it's letting the host know I'm here.
Oh,
I'm in the waiting room for the link that was sent for public comment.
I'm a co-host and I do not see her.
So I'm also in the waiting room, which is weird.
Is she on your computer,
Let's
Patty?
see.
she is, let's see.
Patty, you should be a host too.
Maybe I'm
you see
supposed to
her?
let everyone in. Hold on. Let's see, gallery. Let me see our participants. And I see Andrew's head. No, I do not.
Do you see me?
Nope.
I'm scared.
Can we send her the link again? Is there a
Yeah.
possibility that she has
I
the
mean,
wrong link?
I think it's pretty much.
I think perhaps we can move ahead.
Oh, here we go. There we go. You got it. And admit. There we go. We got them both in the room now.
All right, there she is. So, all right.
Holly, we're ready for you. Sorry, it took a moment to find you on the computer, but Deputy Superintendent Norman succeeded in finding our lost soul. So we're looking forward to hearing from you. The time is yours. You are muted right now.
Holly Jensen, can you turn on your camera and then your mic? Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Good morning. I am Holly Jensen. I am speaking to you today as the president of the Utah School Counselor Association. We wanted to express our support for Board Rule R277-462 and the K-12 Comprehensive School Counseling Program components. We firmly believe these components are instrumental in enabling Utah school counselors to provide direct services to all students in the state of Utah. The school counseling components have been a crucial resource for our school counselors in the efforts to ensure that every student receives the support they need to succeed academically, socially, and emotionally. These components have helped us to make significant progress in addressing the needs of all students, including diverse students, ensuring that they are not overlooked or marginalized. One of our concerns is regarding the proposed removal of diverse language in the school counselor services document R277-464-3. While we understand the need to streamline and update documents in response to HB 261 by removing language that acknowledges and supports equity access for students, it is a concern for us. We are worried about the message that this sends to our students and parents of diverse backgrounds. As a school counselor, diversity also incorporates our students with low socioeconomic status, educational IEPs, first generation, college students, and anyone who has felt marginalized. By removing language that recognizes and addresses the unique needs of these diverse students, we fear that we may be taking a step back in our efforts to provide equal opportunities for all students. School counselors work not only to meet with every student and assist with the college and career planning, but we focus on the whole child spanning grades K through 12. We believe that providing direct services such as early intervention help us work with and create preventative programs rather than being strictly reactive in our program implementation. School counselors are doing some amazing things around the state. School counselors are the frontline support in the schools and provide educational and emotional support to all students. We work hard to encourage and assist all students in achieving greatness in their academic and personal pursuits. To reiterate what Ms. Peterson said, Utah is a trailblazer in comprehensive guidance programs for school counselors. Our hope is to encourage you to consider the concerns that school counselors have regarding maintaining the integrity and of providing clarifying language for the Utah Comprehensive School Board Rule R277-462 as you deliberate today. We hope that to build the relationship and confidence between the Board of Education and our professional school counselors. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. We appreciate it. I don't know if you were able to hear yesterday a student that was recognized from the Utah School for the Deaf and Blind, Mia, who extemporaneously gave us a very interesting and solid new definition of one of the words of inclusion that we don't popularly use in our circles very much these days. And I'm eager for the board, for our staff at the agency, and our counselors across the state to find ways to continue to communicate with perhaps new definitions, more acceptable to the general populace. But there's no question that those words which have become no longer allowed, those words and what the activities that are behind those words need to continue for every student in the state of Utah. We've got to make sure that we don't lessen or lower the standards of what we are trying to do for kids, no matter what their circumstances, who they are, or what challenges they may be facing. So we thank all of you for your concerns. Keep those concerns front and center. Let's find solutions. Let's find new ways of speaking so that everybody at the table, even those who find the words no longer usable, can help us continue to solve problems for each individual child. as they are pursuing their public education. Thank you very much for your,
I really appreciate that comment. Yeah.
please go ahead.
Are we in public comment?
Okay, good.
Usually,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. That
Thank you.
concludes our public comment. And we are now moving on to action item 1.3, supplemental standards for English language arts. And I believe that
Stop sharing.
we have
Share for the motions.
So we have,
Naomi.
yeah, we have Naomi, if you want to come up to the table, and then we have Dr. Thronson, who's also online, getting ready, joining us virtually this morning. And so we'll go ahead.
Before you catch a flight.
Yep.
Thank you
Yes,
for making it to be here.
Thanks for allowing me to do virtual. The flight was scheduled for 6 and then they moved it to 2:30 and then they moved it to 10:30. So it is what it is. I'm here. But most of this will be Naomi. I'm just going to kick off what this item is and what the standard process is. And then if there's any content specific questions, Dr. Naomi Watkins will be fielding those as our English language arts specialist for secondary. So this is just our biannual process where we bring to you our supplemental standards. And this year we only have one set of standards for your review. It's our mythology supplemental standards. And the process for supplemental standards is different than our 13-step process for core standards. Supplemental standards are for courses that are available for graduation credit, but they are not required that they take this particular course. There's some choices. So mythology is one of the choices for your 4th year of English credit. So we convened a committee to review and revise the core standards. We didn't have core standards in mythology. These ones are new. So it wasn't a revision process. It was like, what should it be? And then we released those standards for public review. And then we revised those standards based on public review. And now they are at the board for review, hopeful approval, to be forwarded to the full board in April. So that is the process. If there are any questions before we jump into the actual standards, I'd be happy to answer those for the process. As I said, if there are questions about content, our expert is definitely Dr. Watkins.
Okay. Any questions right at this point from board members? Member Green, we all right to move ahead with comments from Naomi Watkins?
Yes. Yeah.
Please go.
Yeah, that'd be great to hear from her, and then we'll circle back around.
All right, thank you.
I don't have a lot to add, except that these are obviously brand new. So we convened a committee of teachers who teach mythology to develop these particular standards. So it's a survey course, it's a semester. So that's what's here.
Great.
Dr. Watkins, can you orient us to the grid and
The document. So the document that's there really just has the public comment that was actionable. We get a lot of public comment that's like, I love these. These are great, which is nice. I mean, it's great for the committee to know that they get, done good work. But these are the comments that were actionable. So you see what the committee originally developed is the first draft, and then the public comment feedback, and then the proposed standard based on that feedback with the committee's rationale for why they changed it. So.
And there's a few hard copies of draft 2 on the table that you guys can look at for your reference for draft 2.
Yeah, so there's also a full, I think board member group has that, where it has the full standards too, because that doesn't have the full standards.
Yeah, that's these are in the grid is just the ones that they made the changes to for draft 2.
Right.
So the one we've been looking to online is which one? This is the one I printed out. So you're saying there's changes to it, or is it the same?
I need to see which one's draft 1 and draft 2.
Yeah, version 2. So I'm good.
Yeah. It's like, where does it say?
I know, and that's why I'm looking at it. I'm like, I want to know what I was working on.
Yeah, so draft 2 is the one that we're working off of. Draft 1 was the first draft, essentially.
Great. Well, let's open this up then for discussion and preparation for some action at the end of our discussion. Any comments from board members? Or
Are
questions?
we, I guess my first question is, are we working from the first or the second draft then right now? Like what one are we leaning more towards? I normally go to the latter.
Version 2 from March 8th, is that correct?
Yeah, so that would be the version that was revised after the public feedback. So that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, if you go to the table again that we have up there, it would be the middle column. Is that correct? Is that the proposed? That if you're seeing right here, so if there's a motion, the motion would be about what's in the middle column that we can move over.
Okay.
Great.
So let me clarify. The second draft are what we are proposing to be the standards. This table is just telling you how we got to that final draft. So if we have feedback today as board members, it'd be best to be looking at that second draft and saying, I want to amend strand 1 to say X, and then those amendments would be great. You can just, the table's more about what did the public have to say and how did the committee respond to that feedback.
So let me ask, can I ask a question then on that? So we only had one public commenter?
No, we had 20
You had 20.
something, 25, I believe.
Yes, and in backup, there is a complete list of all the feedback. One of their backup items is all the feedback they got from the public.
I
So
was able to read through those, yeah. Go ahead, Jenny.
no, that's okay. I'm just looking down through that. I missed that and didn't read through it. I printed off so the biggest change then would be broadening out mythology then, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right, the biggest change is that we're not just studying mythology, we're actually classical mythology, we're adding all the other components. And that was the concern that I did have. I didn't realize those were the primary differences.
Yeah,
So
they
now
wanted
that's
it to be
interesting.
more of a survey than like an in-depth. A
Yeah.
survey of mythology versus like a focus.
Yeah, so that kind of changes the narrative of the class itself. Do we want it to be a focus class or do we want it to be just a various ideas around these, right? Which would be a survey, right? So I guess it depends on what the board wants, and this committee wants to do with that.
So I have some feedback there, if I may.
Please.
So I took a mythology class in high school through the college, EdNet. It was this big thing over at Snow College. And here we were in Cedar City, Utah, in the library, on the TV, connected clear over to Snow Canyon. It was like pivotal, monumental moment, right? We've come so far since then. So we spent that full semester with the mythology class, and this was just classical Greek mythology. We had to write papers. We had to do deep dives on what all of the stories meant. We had to engage in this deeper level, thinking. And there was one of the public comments. Let me bring it up here. Hold on. That I wanted to just read. Add it up. I'm so sorry. And what I want to clarify is what we are going to require from this class. Like, what's the purpose of it? I'm just wondering, are they writing English papers? Are they doing a lot of papers around the mythology? Are they taking quizzes about what Greek god is aligned to what characteristic? Maybe we could just start with that question. Do we know how the structure of this class is laid out as far as what a language arts class looks like as it relates to mythology? So I'm seeing analyze the characters, evaluate the significance, analyze the relevance and influence. Are those all English papers or are they quizzes? What do we anticipate here?
So may I speak to that, Chair?
Of course.
So from a standards place, how they do it would be more the pedagogy. So this is the what they would be doing. The how is up to the teacher. So analyze could be a discussion. It could be papers. It could be a PowerPoint where they present how they've analyzed. Because that's more like the how of teaching versus the what. Standards,
Mhm.
we don't tell them in standards typically as a board.
Mhm.
It's more sticking to like the what they're going to be teaching, and how they go about that is up to the teacher.
Okay.
May I add to that?
Yes, let's have Naomi give us a little feedback as well.
Well, in addition to what Dr. Thronson said, these supplement the core ELA standards. So a teacher would draw from these standards and then applicable ELA standards, and those would be the writing, the speaking, the listening, the reading. So they would draw from both. So yes, they could write an essay, they could do all those things that Dr. Thronson stated.
Okay, so when you say supplement the ELA standards, it means that they can earn that credit.
Yes, this
if
counts
they-
for graduation.
Okay, so they don't have to take like a traditional ELA class, language arts class. They could take the mythology, and the way that they would engage in this class would address the language arts requirement. We're just broadening a different realm of a topic, right? That they can apply to the language arts credit.
Yes, so in 12th grade, they can take applied and advanced courses, this is one of these. And with those courses, we're required by board rule to create these supplemental standards. So if I was a 12th grader, I could choose to take a 12th grade language arts course, or I could choose to take this mythology course and a creative writing class my next semester, so it's giving them more options for that 12th grade year, how to show.
It is still, if I understand correctly, it is still created and based upon the ELA approach to delivering the information, no matter what focus that particular course is taking, in terms of the genre or the time period or the whatever. You're still going to be doing reading, writing, and what we're
Speaking and listening, yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
So I was intrigued, and maybe we could just go here for a second on one of the feedbacks that we received. And it was saying, I'm so sorry. I have these public comments here. Okay, it says strand 1. This is on the public comment review. This mentioned missing the main point of mythology, which is to describe and derive meaning of the relationships of the divine, the human, the physical in regards to the cosmos, and using storytelling as a vehicle to moralize them themes such as force, violence, hubris, etc., and philosophize agency, fate, the knowledgeable versus unknowledgeable, etc. So that was one area that I was wondering if maybe we could consider fortifying a little bit there, because that definitely was something that I learned in my class. I mean, it's such a wonderful in-depth way to visit those types of subjects through the eyes of demigods or people with superpowers. Greek mythology is a fascinating realm. And I do believe that that is one of its most powerful traits, is that we get a look at human nature through stories, and we can see ourselves in those stories. It becomes that quote unquote safe way to think about these types of characteristics, divine, human, physical, force, violence, hubris, philosophy, agency, fate. I love all of those, and they are so important to the human character. So is there a way, and I'm just going to pose this to the body here, do we feel that we've addressed that, number one, from that feedback in strand 1? If we feel it could be fortified, I'm looking for some help on how to maybe address that in another bullet point. So standard 1.4, we've got 1.3, maybe we make a standard of 1.4. And anybody can answer.
So you're like strand.
A standard within
I meant
strand.
standard.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I see, sorry. I guess, Naomi, what are your thoughts? Because I think there is this, the way that I'm hearing it is the increase, the want to have
not just like a surface level sprinkling of everything type of course, but a more in-depth course. When it comes to this, instead of trying to cover a lot, you could be more in depth with one. I mean, there's a potential that it could even be 2 courses, but considering the time constraints and the length of the course, is there any flexibility to add anything?
So I can tell you how the committee responded to that public comment. They looked at it and they felt that the standards in strand 1 allowed a teacher to do that, to go that in depth, like, because that's a pretty specific, what would I say, ask, I guess, in the public comment. So they looked at strand 1, like, well, you could still do, like, talk about, I can't remember the exact words from the public feedback. So they didn't want to make it more specific. They wanted to have the strand, the flexibility, because we know like some educators really love Greek mythology and they're gonna like do that more, and some might like Celtic mythology more or whatever, you know. But providing that flexibility. So that's what they thought that the standards already covered that particular point. However, if you wanted to call it out more, then you could add another standard.
I do think there is a need to call it out more personally, because I do think it is in all of these other areas, you're going to see these themes arise. So I know I'll look down real quick let me just look down real quick. We do hit key components I was looking for, like the archetypal characters, but I do think that the human element to it, or that continuity that's engaged throughout different cultures, different society, that frequency, right, of those things. I think that's what, if I'm understanding Board Member Green right, that's where she's getting at, is there's a need to make sure that's built in there somewhere. So I don't know, you guys keep talking, I'll see if I can work on something.
I know, and I'm so sorry that I haven't come maybe with an amendment to add on to that. I think it's just one of the most important parts of mythology and folklore. You know, it's where tradition is passed on. It's where meaning and purpose is passed on from every corner of the earth. And I would hope that, students would leave the course understanding that there's this whole other realm from the world, from the history of the world, that they can reach into and understand deeper meanings. I just think it helps quite a bit.
I have a wonder. I wonder if it could be added into 1.3, because in 1.3, you're looking at the relevance and the influence of them on, right now it's just literature, art, and societal values. I wonder if it could be added in there. I don't know what word you might want to use, like human. You used a word, Board Member Green, earlier.
There's
yeah, something like that, or using the same structure of that sentence to help.
Could we, I liked how they said derived meaning. Derived meaning of the relationships. But
online, Director Thronson has her hand up.
Please, Director Thronson, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Chair. My question, since this was in public comment, Naomi, how did the committee respond to that feedback? Like, how did they think they represented what that constituent feedback was? And maybe that's where it's, because we responded to all the feedback that was substantial, and this to me would be a substantial comment. I'm wondering how we responded to that, if we already see this being embedded and maybe it's just not using the same terminology, to kind of give us that place of how they said this, we said this, and I would imagine it's in the table. Then maybe we can get at what Board Member Green is asking for with thinking about their response and how it's represented.
Yeah, the committee felt that it was already within the analysis of genre, but it sounds like Board Member Green is like more emphasized.
Okay. Because I'm assuming that's how, as I was reading it, like motifs and how it's represented in these other aspects of the kind of culture. So that's what I was trying to figure out, like if it's just a term, but I'm assuming our committee responded of why they maybe left it the way it was or what changes we did make on that comment.
I would say probably standard 1.3 is where it falls the most in, like, analyze the relevance and influence of myths. I think if I were to highlight, if I could get anything, it would be just deriving that meaning. Mythology is deriving meaning. It's not just relevance. It's just not an influence. There's a level of engagement that is required to understand why on earth you're learning about this story, you know, and then applying it to yourself. So
Go in there. Yeah.
So what if it were something like, I just throw something out, what if it were analyze how myths, legends, and folklore in literature, art, and society influence meanings related to, and you could articulate the pieces or just deeper meanings, something like that. Help society derive deeper meanings.
It also could go, it also could go on 3.3 if you go down. So that's another possibility if you wanted it to be like, because right now it's like modern culture, so it'd be, you know, about us as humans now. How does it influence us now?
And I had a recommendation for an edit there. I just had evaluate the reoccurring themes, motives, and archetypes of whatever classical and global myths, legends, and folklore. And then it could be, and how they help derive meaning, something like that.
Human could go and derive deeper meaning here.
Deeper meaning, yeah.
okay,
like
that's
it there.
closer. Yeah,
That's good.
that's closer.
I will say that with 3.3, there was, I believe, a public comment that did want essentially what 3.3 is getting at, like how does mythology influence our culture today, right?
Yeah.
So that was something that people did want.
I like that.
Okay. So,
Standard.
member Earl, are we adding that to standard 3.3?
If you make your amendment and then just include that.
Okay, let me see if I can get it right. I'll tell you this is what I just had. I have evaluate the reoccurring themes, motives, and archetype. Sorry. I wonder.
Lisa's typing away.
Archetypes of classical, global myths, legends, and folklore. That's already there. We could have on modern media and culture, something about including the deeper meaning. Oh, sorry, I thought I had it. Okay, so hold on. Stop typing. Myth, legends, and folklore, including the deeper meaning in society on today's media and culture. I don't know if that's perfect, but
Or deriving meaning of those relationships.
okay. So now let's see where we're at.
And describe and derive meaning of those relationships.
And describe and what?
Derive meaning.
Not drive, derive.
Yes, derive.
Evaluate the deeper meaning, blah, 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 of the, like you would put the.
We could do that. We could do that.
That would probably be less
How about,
wordy.
Emily, did you hear that? Evaluate the deeper.
The deeper what?
The deeper what meaning? Human connection? You know what I mean? Or just
Well,
deeper?
she says describe and derive meaning of the relationships of the divine, the human, the physical, the cosmos, you know, and those become the vehicle to moralizing those themes such as force, violence, hubris, agency, fate, and knowledge. Really, and that absolutely is what mythology is. We could just put in that definition as a whole. Where could we put that? And I'm so sorry. I
Okay, so let's
didn't
see.
get to that before today.
So it's evaluate, and maybe it's just that, evaluate, sorry, not thinking here. I don't know if how to is the right thing to say. I know that's the part. I'm like, evaluate what, how to describe, or you don't want to evaluate the how to though, right? That's the problem.
Okay, what about this? I'm gonna take that back. What if it was actually on, we've hit all the strands now. We're gonna hit strand 2. Because it says relationships and hierarchy of characters and deities. So students will develop an understanding of the relationships and hierarchies of characters and deities within myths, legends, and folklore. So we've got 2.1, identify archetypal characters and or deities within myths and the roles they play across different cultures. I like that. Describe the complexities of the relationships and interactions between the characters and or deities across and within different mythological and cultural systems. And then describe and derive meaning of the relationships of, and we could just list some of those. And then that way they're falling underneath those relationships and hierarchies, because, you know, no matter where we look, we always have relationships, and no matter what system you're in, there's always hierarchies that exist. And mythology, you know, allows the avenues to discuss those complex things. So could we add standard 2.3 and say, I don't, can someone write this for me while I go up on the screen?
Describe and derive meaning. That's where we have so far. You see that?
Okay, so describe and derive meaning of the relationships. I'm just going to put of the divine, comma, the human, comma, and the physical in regards to, it sounds a little hokey, to the cosmos. We can edit this. Using storytelling as a vehicle to moralize themes such as force, violence, hubris, agency, fate, and knowledge. I'm open to
I would add love.
edits or revision. Thoughts?
Yeah, love and knowledge. Yeah, just adding love to it as well.
Yes, yes. Love is a good one.
Actually, we gotta get some nice ones.
I know. Mythology is also weird because it's kind of dark. Let's throw in love.
Okay.
Good idea. It's what the world needs now, is what I understand.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so let's read it one more time. I'm just gonna read it out if that's okay. Describe and derive meaning of the relationships of the divine and human and the physical, divine, human, and the physical in regards to the cosmos, using storytelling as a vehicle to moralize themes such as force, violence, hubris, agency, fate, love, and knowledge.
Okay. And I think underneath strand 2, much better.
Naomi has a suggestion, if that's okay, Board Member Green.
Yes, of course.
I think we don't need derive. I think you can just be describe. Because it's implied that you would be deriving the meaning. It's cleaner just to have one verb. They already have the verb. Yeah.
Hold on real quick.
Describe the meanings.
The meaning.
The meanings.
Describe the meanings of the relationships of the divine. Divine, is it capitalized? The divine.
Oh.
So
No.
I like
I think it needs a stronger word. We have describe in the one before is describe complexities. I think we need a different word before
Probably
besides.
something like
It
analyze.
could be analyze, it could be evaluate.
Analyze the relationships of the vibe. I like that.
It would make it a higher level.
Yeah, analyze describes very basic, so.
Well, derive, the definition for derive is obtain something from a specific source. So if we were to derive something from a specific source, that source is mythology. It is a very specific realm. So we're obtaining, what is it that we're trying to pull from a mythological story? So for me, it makes it way more clean and deeper level thinking, but that's just my argument.
You could say analyze the derived meanings. I don't know if you like that either, but.
What if we need to put in quotation marks like physical?
Yes. Yeah, the quotations.
Yeah, probably.
The way that it reads here is, it is in quotations, divine, human, and physical, and cosmos. Those are in quotations. I don't know if, if that doesn't add a level of quality that we wanted, but.
I think it does, because it kind of symbolizes it as a broader narrative, right? I mean, you're right, would you say that? That's what I would think too.
Yeah, more of a metaphysical, yeah. Like, what is the word? Yeah.
So I would advocate to keep derive. I'm just looking at the examples. It's like another example is basic concept on a logical extension or modification of another concept. So Eliot derived his poetics from the French symbolists. We're understanding fate by deriving, that knowledge from mythology. Anyway, so
you're arguing to keep derive as the verb at the first?
Yes.
Instead of analyze.
So derive meaning?
Yeah. It's a very specific.
But if it does the same thing, we just don't normally use derive.
I don't normally use it for standard.
Well, this will be an education process for us. Yeah. I think it is a higher.
It is. I just looked it up. It falls under that, but
yeah.
Why not?
Is it derive meanings of, or is it derive the meaning of, or is it like derive meaning of? It seems like there needs to be.
It probably needs to be derive the meaning of.
But we can do a technical edit.
Okay.
We can do a technical edit and just see what that. I'm not sure if it's
Derive the meaning of the relationship of the divine.
Is it the meaning or is it meanings?
Is it one meaning or is there an option for multiple meanings?
Do we add analyze? Do we do analyze and derive meaning?
That's what we had. We had that before.
That's what we had.
That's what we're arguing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
as long as
typically
you keep derive.
One verb.
I think that the problem of it is of the relationships of the divine. So it needs to be like for the relationships of the divine. So like there's a technical thing in there that's not quite right.
We can leave it derive. I think we're good at that. I mean, derive meaning. And what did you say, Patty, that you think it's?
There's something, and I'm looking for some of
about the relationship.
So because we have of the relationships of the divine, so derived meanings in the relationships of the divine for the relationships about the relationships. Yeah,
I think it's about.
It's about
okay.
The relationships of divine. Yeah. Okay. I like it.
Okay.
Hey, do you want to read that and vote on it then, Randy?
Standards 2.3, derive meanings about the relationships of the divine, the human, and the physical in regards to the cosmos, using storytelling as a vehicle to moralize themes such as force, violence, hubris, agency, fate, love, and knowledge.
Do you want to limit it to just storytelling?
What would
do you mean?
There's using storytelling. There's other things that might be within the language arts standards. Or no?
I mean, in this case, it is story. It's story. Yeah.
Do we
Okay.
put et cetera on there?
No, I think such as does that. The such as takes care of that.
Okay.
Good, okay. So now down below in strand 3. What are
We
we
have
doing
an
there?
edit there. I would recommend, and just tell me if this works, evaluate the reoccurring themes, motives, and types, I don't know if any, like archetypes probably, of classical and global myth, legends, and folklore on modern media and culture. I just think the key pieces we're asking for in this, we want to make sure they're pulling those out and not just, right, how is it influencing those? So I just think those.
You mean in addition to 3.2?
I wouldn't add a new one. I would do 3.3 and then just do evaluate, just changing it so we have influence and significance, but I just am suggesting we add in the key pieces that we're teaching about here. We're teaching about motives, we're teaching about archetypes, and then how those influence the media and culture. Maybe?
Yeah, except I would say that, I mean, you could talk about more than just those things when you're talking about influences and significance. You could, I mean, of course, I can't think of an example right now. So you said themes, archetypes, what was the other thing?
Motives.
Motives.
Yeah.
I mean, we have. I'm just trying to think if that limits what you could talk about then versus, because you would talk about, with 3.3, you would talk about themes, motives, and archetypes already if you're going to talk about the influences and significance. I'm just trying to think if there's something else there. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm just gonna argue this other point for a minute, not to argue, but to debate. But I would just argue that that often we lose these three things or these significant things just in culture. I don't know if that makes sense. Like we use something in a very superficial way, but we don't understand the connection to the archetype, does that make sense? So I would argue that I think that those themes, those pieces are key in order to make the connection instead of just being very, a TikTok video that's kind of, I don't know, does it make sense? Like the trying to.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, what would I teach if I was doing 3.3? I might say something like, okay, Harry Potter, right, has a lot of reference to mythological creatures, mythological motifs and themes. That might be like an example I might use, and I would talk about those things.
So are you suggesting maybe using the word including? So evaluate influence and significance of these items on modern culture, including themes, motives, and archetypes. So at the end, maybe? Okay.
Because I think, I mean, of course I can't think of an example, but there might be a case where there's an influence from a myth that's not one of those three things that we do see show up. I just don't want to limit that option.
I just want to make sure we don't
Lose
it. Yeah, I just don't want it to be lost. So, okay, I think adding it to the end, including motives, archetypes, and
because you would talk about those things like very naturally in talking about the influences. I just worry about limits sometimes,
I think that.
Yeah. I just don't want to lose. So
Can we pronounce, isn't that motifs? Or is it motifs?
I said motifs.
Oh, I've been saying motives, but motifs. Okay.
Just wondered
You
if
guys
I
can
was.
correct me, get me back on the cultural.
Back to English. Too.
Yeah.
Especially in myths.
Motives, motifs, and
love.
Is there anything else we need to add there that we think we've covered, but we want to make sure it just could be like included at the end just as a.
I think this is a very good discussion, and I think we had some great ideas. We got love in there. I'm happy.
So then I guess the only thing I still have before we pass this is I just have that question on the broadness. Do we end up, it becomes a survey, right? And is that the intent? I guess it's what the board wants the intent to be of the class, right? In the end. But do we want it to be a survey or do we want it to be an in-depth look within certain areas, right? And so then the question would be, do we change it to an or classical world or indigenous mythology, or do we lose the, I guess maybe that's the thing for board members to grapple with, right?
Well, so I think I hear you saying is we have, I mean, my 4-month class, full semester class was just on Greek mythology, and we barely scratched the surface. It worked though. So do we do like the first, it seems that to help students understand, the different levels of mythology and how that looks on a global scale. You can go to any part of the world and they have their myths and their legends and their folklore. So do we structure this in a way that they are able to focus on units? Are there units of study? So Greek mythology, and then you've got Celtic, folklore, and then you have, Native American stories. You have all the cultural, I have a whole book here on stories from the Philippines that I bought a year ago, where they compiled all of their stories into a book so that they study that as well. How do we anticipate this being structured over the course of a year? Do we want them to focus on Greek mythology? That one's a bigger area of study. It has more literature on it. It's been studied more. It's more easily accessible in print versus the other cultures some are just starting to collect that information. How do we see this being structured over the course of a year? And if we feel that Greek mythology or classical, I should say, classical mythology should be its own class, and then we could offer another class that would include, myths, legends, folklore, and other mythologies, culturally speaking. That's been something that's come up.
I can respond. So there's a lot of ways that this could go. I mean, so as far as like units of study, that's usually left up. That's a curriculum piece, how they would structure the class. And districts and schools, I should say, actually do a lot of different things with the mythology class. So there's some who they've decided I'm going to do just Greek, Roman mythology for this semester. And then they might offer mythology part 2. Still using the same standards, but they might have a different type of focus. It might be like indigenous mythology or Celtic mythology. Others are going to say you know what, this is the one shot that we have with students to take a mythology class. So I'm going to give them exposure to a lot of different types, knowing that if they're interested in it in college, they could take a more in-depth semester or year-long class. So I don't know if the standards themselves would change very much, depending, if you wouldn't want to have classical mythology standards, I think they'd be similar to what we have here. Or if you had Celtic mythology standards, they would be very similar to what they have that are here too,
Maybe the question is, if they take it and there's a course number that's assigned to it, would there need to be an additional course number if it's, classical mythology and then Celtic and then indigenous, so that it would be a different course number when they're doing it? Or is it just okay to use that course number?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe more the reason. And especially if we have other options like writing, so we have mythology and we have writing to replace a 12th grade English, would it then be up to the board to be able to say we have mythology and mythology, regardless of what the concentration is that would replace that as well. So I think maybe, and I don't know, Director Thronson, are you still on?
I mean, I know, for example, we have a literature course code. It's an elective, not an applied advanced. And this is what happens with that course. They'll have this course focuses on, I don't know, romance literature, or focuses on historical fiction, and they do a deep dive into that genre. But it's still the same course code for the literature course, regardless of the focus, because that would be a curriculum decision in that case, and the standards would still be the same.
So I'm wondering then if the bigger question for today is if this can be approved as the overarching standards, regardless of whether it's one or many, then we can come back with the answers about the course codes and whatnot. I don't know, Darren is in here. We have Assistant Superintendent Nielsen online that might be able to answer it. I know that he's in the building today as well.
Yeah, he's coming down for his item later, but
Okay,
he's in the building. I can text him.
okay. And maybe we can get back to answer that question, part of the question. Or if you would like.
Board members, what would you like to?
Yeah, I guess probably it would be maybe we've left it broad in mythology. Do we want it to say any kind of specific areas of study? Like, are we concerned about a specific area of mythology being studied overall that sets a platform for what mythology is? So go ahead.
I kind of go back to what Naomi said earlier, which is that some teachers might have expertise in different areas. So leaving it the way it is gives them the opportunity to teach it in the way that they have the most expertise. So maybe at Logan High School, they're teaching it more Celtic, but they're covering all of the different pieces of the standards. And then at other places, they might be emphasizing a different piece. But would there be opportunity? Do you think there would be a desire and ability to fill courses if we did eventually later on plan on expanding or adding courses to these supplemental?
Sure. We have Assistant Superintendent Nelson, and I think two questions that we're asking right now is within the mythology standards right now, it's an overarching course, and those standards could be applied to any concentrated area within mythology of classical, Celtic, indigenous, whatnot. So should those be, if those are distinct, individual, discrete courses of classical mythology, indigenous mythology, and whatnot, would it require a separate course code so that one, it would be paid, two, it would be counting on a transcript as a different course and not a repeated course? Those types of things, one on funding, two on garnering the credit itself.
Yeah, so because it would, if you broke mythology out into specific, and we'll see if we're thinking the same way here, into specific mythology underneath that umbrella, then the way the credit would count towards graduation would be the same regardless of the subcategory, right? And the qualifications for the teacher would be the other criteria you look at when you look at course code information, just make sure you have the right teacher in that course would be the same for all of those. So I don't think it would matter. You could use that same course description. LEAs often, those LEAs often will go in and modify the course name. They create their own course names associated with the core code as well. So it would allow them to focus in on a particular type of mythology if that's something that community wanted to do. And then from our perspective at the state, we see the core code, and we're going to look to see if the teacher's qualified and how it counts towards their students' graduation credit.
So technically, there could be an overarching mythology course, but then from another code, it could then be.
But they do the same
They would use
code.
the same, and it would be okay if they repeated it over
From the
and over.
parents'
You
perspective.
have three different standards that fall under the same code, right? And I say not different standards, but different focus.
What you adopt to, yeah, they would focus. You probably already.
You're already doing it.
If you look closely as you went from school to school, you would see a course code, and maybe Morgan High School labels that course a certain way. And Ogden High School's chosen a different label. And they're still tied to the standards that have been adopted. Their focus, sometimes they'll use names simply for recruitment purposes, especially on elective courses. They'll use frustrate me as a counselor. Teacher would struggle with enrollment, and the next year they want to change the name of their course instead of sewing to sports sewing or something. But the core code they're using It's still the same in the standards associated with their still.
So it would.
I guess the difference for me would be a broad survey, once again, of, a skimming of this, or a deeper, content, where you can actually, I think.
Does it feel though like the way these standards have been, tweaked and created, that it is more in depth? I mean, those words and those specificity that you've incorporated in the standards doesn't feel like it's general mythology to be applied to, wherever. It's pretty deep, especially with some of the things that we've added this morning.
Yeah,
Wow.
except for we do end up creating a focus here and then here. It feels like it is compartmentalized or jumped around instead of a fluidity. That's the only thing I have a concern with, is the fluidity of it, right? As you're trying to introduce new cultures, then you're bringing in a whole new perspective, and then you try to do it again. And maybe there's value in that. I'm not suggesting there's not, but I'm also suggesting that maybe the depth of the course, right? Because this is a high school course, lends itself to a focused narrative in these deeper areas. So,
well, it seems that what might happen as well is that we're going to have one teacher, and those students from our standards, from USB standards, will be proficient in Celtic mythology. We can have another teacher across the state that was proficient in Greek mythology. So they're coming from the same standards, but we're having students specialize in different areas of mythology. Are we okay with that?
I mean, that happens now. If English language arts, period, they're all reading different things, studying different things in depth.
Yes. Okay.
Our vice chair, are you asking for different course codes, or does that make so? Is that what you're asking for? So you're asking for actually
that's what I was thinking.
Instead of one overarching course code that can be modified by title according to LEA, you're saying then let's separate them in the beginning. Is what you're asking for at a state level.
Yeah.
So there's
I'm just asking the question if there's value in that. But maybe there's just value in the flexibility for LEAs too. I'm just, as I'm listening to the discussion here, there may be value in that, because you just may not have someone who has an expertise in a particular area, right? And so then it limits the ability to even maybe make the course available.
It's student interest too, right? Like talking about recruiting, like if you were in certain parts of the state, like a course that's more focused on indigenous myths might be more
San Juan County.
Yeah, like San Juan County, the kids there might be really interested in that, but like Roman, Greek, they'd be like, But that doesn't mean then that the teacher couldn't infuse those things into a more in-depth, because you would compare them. I mean, that would be a normal thing to be like,
So
look,
Board Member Green, I think with the changes, I'm just trying to think out loud here. I think I'm leaning more now towards a little bit more of the flexibility. Just because of the constraints, I think that depending on where you're at in the state, small district, large district, charter, whatever, allows some of that flexibility. And I think that when I say constraints, it's just that we put provisions in here that I think, to me, when I looked at it, I'm like, what would this course need to be, right, in order to efficiently accomplish what we'd like it to accomplish, and that depth of understanding, not just so I don't know though.
What I like about it, like on strand 1, students will develop an understanding of the genre of classical world and indigenous myths, legends, and folklore. As my hope would be that students understand that there is a whole realm of mythology, and what we will find is that students will have a specific area that they are drawn to. It could be Celtic folklore or mythology, and they just absolutely love it. They're going to go travel to that part of the world. They're going to go find the fairy forest. They're going to do all of that. We've got our heritage too, San Juan County. We've got all of those stories there. So that would be the goal. And so I think we are pretty covered here in strand 1.
Yeah.
I think I'm good with where we're at now too. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that was all.
All right. Well, good. Then I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we move forward for the board I'm not saying this right. I make a motion that we move, where are you at?
As amended.
I recommend that the Standards and Assessment Committee forward the supplemental standards for English language arts for board approval as amended in committee.
And does that cover the amendment that we added? Do we need?
Yeah,
to
we
vote on
added
separate?
two.
It's amended in committee. Yeah,
As
Yep.
amended.
that's
committee.
all there.
Okay.
We've got it now up on the screen.
We just had all the amendments and voted.
So do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
And probably, Randy, we probably ought to read off the actual amendments while you read the motion, just so people are
All right.
fully aware of that.
Great. Let's do that then. So the motion is that the Standards and Assessment Committee forward the supplemental standards for English language arts for board approval as amended. And the amendments are
They're right about that.
The two read.
standards 2.3, derive meanings about the relationships of the divine, the human, and the physical in regards to the cosmos, using storytelling as a vehicle to moralize themes such as force, violence, hubris, agency, fate, love, and knowledge. And then in standard 3.3, adding at the end, including themes, motifs, and archetypes. So that would read, evaluate the influences and significance of classical and global myths, legends, and folklore on modern media and culture, including themes, motifs, and archetypes. And then, is that it? Those are the two.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Okay. So that's the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think this is a historical day. I don't think we've ever added it to a standard ever.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Only would have had it in February. Only would have had it in February.
That's wonderful. All right. We're ready now to move on. Is that correct? To 1.4.
We could have Bethany and
And
as well. Yes.
we have a few things to consider regarding comprehensive school counseling. Thank you, Neil. No, you're welcome to stay if you'd like.
Table as well.
That would be wonderful.
Actually,
But we don't have public give comment during the.
Well, I just wanted to roll out my papers.
oh, it just needs that.
I'm not gonna say anything.
If you want to use this table in the back, is there room?
I'll just use this chair.
All right. Who's gonna take the lead on this?
I will start,
Excellent.
Chair. That's all right with you. Hi, Assistant Superintendent of Student Support, Leah Voorhees. So the public comment already kind of outlined the 4 agenda items that we have for you today. But I just wanted to let you know how they are related to one another. So first of all, there are 2 rules, R277-462 and R277-464, that the school counseling rules. They're both up for their 5-year renewal. So anticipating that they would be coming to the board for the 5-year renewal, our 2 school counseling specialists at the time, Bethany and Michelle, who you've heard from before, sought extensive public comment to be able to do exactly what we heard about in public comment about any updates that might be needed to the rules to bring them into line with current practice, current research, etc. So the first rule that you'll review is 462, but before the rule, there is a document incorporated by reference into that rule that you will review. And as you know, when a document is incorporated by reference into a rule, it becomes rule. It has the force of law, just like the rule does. So you can review the document first, And once you approve the document, then you can approve its incorporation by rule into the approval of the rule. And so you'll do that twice because there's a document incorporated into each of the two rules. So they, just to kind of give you an overview, and Bethany will share when she talks about each of the rules and the two documents that you'll be looking at. They received over 300 comments related to the proposed updates.
Is that included somewhere?
So originally, we had the school counseling program model,
Okay.
which was our 88 page, and that was where we got our comments and public feedback. Are you okay? Yep. Chair, are you okay if I speak to that?
Please.
Introduce yourself.
I am Bethany Marker, school counseling specialist at USBE. And originally, that was to have the full school counseling model be incorporated. It was an 88-page document. We took feedback from committees, advisory committee, the LEA school counseling leadership across the state. This was a process that lasts several months. And then we did the public comment. There was a hard time getting agreement because a lot of the leadership throughout the state wanted to have specific things in the rule that did not align to current Utah code or where it's not going to be allowed or approved. And so we went back to leadership and said, what if we take the absolute requirements based on additional feedback that we need in the rule? And that became our components document. We have the ideas and the requirements in board rule in 462, but we don't have the program model anymore. So those public comments were related specifically to the program model, which is no longer a part of the rule. It's going to be used more as a resource as it gets updated.
Okay, that makes more sense to me. Because I was trying to follow what's happened. So can I just re-articulate what you just said?
Sure.
Just so I make sure. So after you've gathered feedback and everything, instead of adding the larger document
Full model.
We have these are the components that make, okay.
A school counseling program.
Well, that was a brilliant move. So,
So I cried my head off now. We did a lot of work.
I can see that. Well, the reason why I say that makes sense. I think there is value in the simplification because of a number of things. It doesn't allow for moving models all over the place, right? And misinterpretation. So, anyway, I'm sorry. I just am catching up, I think, on what you've probably been working on. And I don't think I fully understood.
And we were in another committee and then we got
That's
moved.
right.
And so
That's
I
right.
think that's part of.
Okay, I value,
as well.
yes, thank you. And I value the work that's been done here. And I think there's a little bit of more cleanup on it. And I think we're close. So thank you.
Tanya, you had a comment.
She basically covered it. I'm Tanya Albernos, the coordinator for prevention and student services. And I was just gonna say, we wanted to make it, this is our minimum standard, right? That you need to meet for your program instead of the comprehensive model.
Yes, okay. Once again, I do appreciate that. I've looked at the comprehensive models and I had a lot of questions around those. So, okay, all right.
Great.
All right.
So, are we ready to consider action item number 1.4? Utah K-12 Comprehensive School Counseling Program components. And this is the simplified minimum standard for a comprehensive.
It's taken from the model, yes.
Great.
Okay.
Please go ahead. Member Green.
I think, could we spend just a quick minute on the second to last bullet on that document, Comprehensive School Counseling Program Training?
There we go. Okay, it's on the screen.
Okay, perfect.
Go ahead. Do you want to tell us what you'd like to consider?
Yes. So I'm just going to regulate participation. Regular participation of all team members in USBE sponsored comprehensive K through 12 school counseling program trainings. This includes the college and career readiness certificate consistent with the Utah State Code and Utah State Board of Education Board Rule 921 and participation in school counseling updates and essential trainings. So I met with counselors over the last like 2 to 3 weeks. I've had 2 separate meetings about this. I've just been trying to do my due diligence here. So one thing that I just wanted to ask is, and this is a statement from an actual school counselor in an elementary setting, saying ensure they are trained in the schools, so that they have those trainings. So she has a graduate degree, so a master's degree in a licensed school as a licensed school counselor. How does that align with that bullet point that I had us pull up here? And I just expand on what I'm asking by saying that some of the counselors that they're bringing into the realm, because they need people, they don't have, and it's hard to find people. They are hiring people that they don't have the qualifications that she has to actually do the job. Does this bullet point set up the quality check that our LCSWs or our school counselors have the right training for the school setting? They're bringing in people that have not been trained for the school setting. Does this require that happens as a quality?
Chair, may I answer?
Thank you. Please go ahead, Bethany.
So there are a lot of questions you just asked, and there are a lot of different answers. In order to be funded in let's say 7 through 12, because that's where our funding is as school counselors, you have to be a licensed school counselor. So you have to have that license through USBE, and currently the only way to get that license is to do a master's of school counseling program. There are, however, in elementary schools where they do not receive that funding, some elementary schools are hiring social workers or psychologists to fill that school counseling role, using the school counseling model or training. They are not licensed school counselors, but because they're not getting that funding, there's not that oversight by USBE to do the quality checks on that. And so that's kind of the answer. As far as the comprehensive school counseling program training goes, all school counselors in the state and out of state who do out of state programs do complete the updates and essentials trainings. There is an elementary school counselor updates and essentials training. There's also a secondary. We do have different options. Some are in person. It's also available through a Canvas course. And school administrators are also required to take that training so that they understand what the role of a school counselor is, and what their duties are as school counselors. Does that answer your question, Board Member Green?
Yeah, yes, it does.
Currently, there is not an alternative path to become a school counselor, a licensed school counselor with your professional license, unless you have a master's of school counseling. There are students who are in master's programs right now, school counseling, that can get the associate level license, the AEL, while they're working on that. And I actually have had some social workers and or psychs doing the same thing. They have 3 years to get that professional degree or that professional license. So they can be working on that. But technically, especially where the funding is, they cannot be in that role unless they are a licensed school counselor.
Okay. So what's did you say LED? Or
AEL, the Associate Educator License. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. And she had mentioned an MED, and I didn't get a chance to clarify
That's
what
a master's. That's a master's of education.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what is the relationship between those and an LCSW? And how, because like one elementary school, we have hired 2 to 3 LCSWs, but we don't have an MED.
Can I answer that? Please, go right ahead.
So
there is no relationship between the two. A school can hire an LCSW, but the LCSW has to be licensed through the Department of Professional Licensing, and they have a different role. They are clinically licensed as mental health professionals, whereas school counselors are licensed through USBE licensing, and they do not have the authority to do mental health counseling. Does that answer your question?
Okay, and I think if I'm going to piggyback on that, so the thing is that where they don't have that counselor, but they have, this elementary has an LCSW, and the LCSW goes and does on our bullet point, the fifth bullet point, collaborative classroom instruction. Are the LCSWs covered because of the credentials to do the collaborative classroom instruction, or is that supposed to be left for our licensed school counselor? What we're seeing is crossover in all of these different titles into this document.
Yes, thank you. May I answer? Board Member Green, yes. LCSWs in the elementary school are licensed, what is the word? Trained, able to go in and do character education and things like that. There are specific roles. We do have a document that lines that out in board rule with school counselors, social workers, and psychologists. It does get, I would say, in elementary school, a little more messy because I think elementary principals are looking for whoever they can get that's qualified to come in and teach. And we don't always have licensed school counselors available for that. And so I think sometimes they alternately hire a social worker or a psychologist to do that role.
I know. And this one, I mean, I think she's 100 classes a month.
Yeah.
One person. So it's difficult. Here's where my questions are coming from. There are concerns that we have. There's a need. We don't have enough people that have the right credentials. People that don't have right credentials are crossing over into realms that technically they shouldn't, because they need to have the right licenses. And they need to ensure that they're trained in the school setting. A lot of the LCSWs that are coming in have not been received the right training for the school setting, and conflict arises from that naturally, right? Like you're going into a different industry. So I would love the document that you just mentioned. I would love to have that. That's something that I've been looking for. This is a concern that always comes up when I have this conversation. What I was looking for in our comprehensive school counseling program component document here is maybe verifying that they are aware of what can and can't be done. I acknowledge the fact that there is no funding for elementaries at this point. I do believe that those conversations are ongoing on how to help in that avenue. So are we clear in this document of the concerns brought up around the licensing of who can do what and where?
May I answer that?
Of course.
So we have R277-313, which is the student support license areas of concentration. And that talks about the definitions for school counseling, school social workers, and school psychologists. We also have a document that we have been working on for a couple of years since I started. It has the roles and responsibilities specifically of school counselors, school psychs, school social workers, BCBAs, other mental health supports. And that document was ready to go out, but our rule came up, and there are going to probably be, based on what you as a board decide, some changes in that document. So we were waiting for the board rule to get approved. Then that document will go through, and that will be sent out as soon as we can update that based on what happens with changes with our rules.
Okay.
Question sort of bigger picture. Because remember Earl and I were talking about this, that the name counselor is often misleading, right? Especially when they're in high school, because then they go to college and then we call them advisors, right? And often counseling can mean something different than anyways. But beyond that, if we're looking at I know from my superintendents that they have a desperate need for mental health counselors. They're seeing that they have all said if they could have one thing, it would be more, right? But when it comes to the separation and the different roles, right? Do we still see a need in the same way we do with mental health counselors as we do with school counselors? Are we seeing that we have a lot of gaps and most schools could use a lot more staff in that area?
Yes. Chair, may I answer? So Board Member Real, thank you for bringing that up. School counselors, and I know we don't necessarily talk about multi-tiered systems of support, but school counselors are there for every student. We do brief interventions. Someone might come in with a friend problem. Someone might come in with, I'm lonely. So we do all of those type of things with all students. If someone needs clinical mental health or therapy, that would be a more approach that would go to a social worker or to a psychologist. And so there's a need for all. School counselors can do things that social workers and psychs are not trained in. And one of those is Utah Code to do the college and career readiness plans.
Right.
The other two are not trained or licensed to do that. And so, like I said, I think school counselors are kind of that front line, like Holly Jensen with Yuska said, where kiddos come in and then we can kind of say, oh, you know what, this is something that needs more intense. Let's talk to your parents and make sure, and then, move on to either a community service or a school social worker or whatever the next step would be if that's needed. But they're kind of the front lines to help support all students.
Right. So, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I assumed, but I wanted to make sure, because I think that what maybe Member Green is talking about is that some folks are filling different roles. Mostly there could be the bigger picture issue there is that we are just in a greater need for mental health counselors and a greater need for school counselors, right? And so that to me would be somehow that the bigger solution to fixing some of these little issues that maybe she's seeing are from just the desperate need for staff in both areas. Okay.
Yeah, and
Go ahead, Emily.
oh, you can go ahead. I'll go after.
I mean, and I think that is the overlap for someone who's not trained to do something, right? That's where the concern comes in, is someone who's not qualified, and therefore sometimes their training, or the resources they're providing to kids are not probably as good as they could because they're not trained in how to do that. So but
if they were more fully staffed, then they would be like, oh, this is a career in college readiness, or go see your counselor for that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So the form that I was given, shared with as well, to Member Real's point here, is that 100% of students are taught by the counselor, by the school counselor, like that title. That's tier 1. That one is 80% universal. So then you've got your tier 2, the percentages for that. Some students 10 to 15% serviced by counselor and social worker. That one's a targeted 15%. So that one's to referral to resources, small groups, and individual consultation and collaboration. And then you've got your tier 3 students, 3 to 5%, which are serviced by social workers. And that one's the intensive. And so that's individual counseling, consult and collaborate, and then wraparound support and referral. So that was what I was shared as far as the structure of a school counselor. And yes, they are completely understaffed. The conflict arises in the school settings that there's just, to fill the staff need, we are filling them with people that don't have the right training or licenses for the position they've been hired, and it is a local LEA issue. However, if there's anything that we could do to help lay out the groundwork so that conflict can, or the controversy can dissipate a little bit, because we've taken that heavy load and we're like, okay, this is how it should be structured. Rise to that. And then I know it comes back to funding. I know that another school district was like, we don't have the funding for that. And they just kind of have to shoulder it. So, and do the best they can. So, yes.
Please.
One way that's been addressed in a small way is Utah Valley University a couple of years ago came on with a new program. So they got their Masters of School Counseling, and we gave them feedback that we were getting a lot of rural school counselors throughout the state who aren't able to come be in person, who aren't able to come and, you know, do the classes. And UVU worked with us and said, we're going to create another cohort. And so they added another 25 just for online. And that is their priority, is to take rural school counselor or people who want to be rural throughout the state. We also have had the Grow Your Own grant program, which has helped lots of our LEAs to be able to pay for people to go back and get their school counseling masters pretty much paid for. And so that's been another benefit. Those are some things that we've really helped to address as a board. So I want you to recognize that that's been something we are aware of and we are working on. We would love to see more, if we can, at some point, online options within Utah for school counselors to be able to get their school counseling degree.
Okay. Does that tie into the comprehensive school counseling program training bullet points?
Maybe thank you, Chair. If we go back to get thank you on this document right here, just one and just right where you're at is great. Just one clarification that might help inform this conversation, because we've been talking kind of about three different things. We've been talking about licensing, we've been talking about professional learning, and we've been talking about training. And Leah helped remind right here, if you look down on what's actually underlined on the bullet where it says trainings, that is very specific. The board has a definition of that as compared to what professional learning is. So when it says training, it's different than professional learning. Professional learning, as defined by the board, is a comprehensive, sustained, evidence-based approach to improving teachers' and principals' effectiveness and raising student achievement. When we're talking about training,
compliance. So, and that's a discussion that the board had about 3 years ago, if you remember that, to articulate that the training was time limited and it was based on helping educators, administrators, other staff, and community-based organizations understand requirements and implement requirements, evaluate requirements, so that the key word for training is related to compliance.
So used within the document, it is about the compliance, what they can and can't do, and what they're.
That's what I was going to say. It's appropriately used
it's
here.
Appropriately used. So it's not talking about having someone come in and have a professional learning opportunity to learn more about being or experiencing it. So used appropriately in this, it is about the compliance measures.
Board Member Green was there. I just am curious, is there something you wanted to add there, or are you just trying to get clarity?
Well, I appreciate that question, because actually, yes. So I am wondering if, Patty, I'm so thankful that you brought this up, because that added some clarity here. I wondered if this bullet point ties in with R277462 lines 143 and 144. And it is going back to the membership in the ASCA and striking that and putting professional school counselor associations. And I think that these are probably two separate things. The concern arises.
Board Member
that,
Board Member Green, which document are you on?
That was R277462.
462.
And I'm in draft 2, and it's lines 143 to 144.
I'm just amazed how quick you guys are to get this up. We are living in an amazing age with really good people.
It is true.
Wow.
What
Which
I,
line? Sorry, oh, they've got it pulled up, okay.
Yeah, it's up on the screen, but I don't see how it's reads over time.
So what was your questions, Board Member Green?
what I am wondering is how the associations will impact, maybe we could say, training. The concern from us and school counselors is that it could cause confusion on where everybody's coming from as a school counselor. Again, it goes back to when someone is hired that's not been trained in the schools that are accountable to the stakeholders. They're concerned that opening up the professional school counselor to all these other associations, there's going to be more discord and confusion onto what can and can't happen, what should and should not happen. And I don't know if that's affected here because of training now, or we don't even know what associations any of these people will be coming from.
Patty.
Deputy Superintendent Norman.
For Albany fans. Oh, you're already answered. You're expert. You go ahead. Good morning, everybody. Former school counselor, still have my license intact. Should I have the desire to step in, Bethany?
Council was.
Well, I did. I was a school counselor to Angie Stallings. And it turned out okay. You know, she didn't run her into the ground. And Judy and I actually got our counseling degrees together. I was going to mention that earlier, but that's all right. So my input is that there are really only two associations. So this is about the distribution of funds. So, for example, the Utah Counselors Association that Bethany and others are involved in. The school council.
What we need in the state of Utah, the stakeholders, constituency are asking versus organizations that are providing training that may be not in correlation with our laws. And I can show you direct elements to that. So I'm trying to understand.
May I answer that?
Yeah.
The trainings that she was talking about originally are specific to updates and essentials, the college and career readiness certificate, and those are all through the Utah State Board.
Yes.
Those trainings are required. This is addressing the funding with professional learning. It's not a training. They have a choice if they want to do that or not.
But that is the point.
Yes. So
Meaning
yes, so
they may not coincide. So we're sending diverse we're sending conflicting messages. Am I right in what you're trying? So remember Green?
Yes. So, yes, I would like those to be named specifically. And that is exactly what I'm saying. Member Earl.
And Member Earl. Go ahead, Member Green. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I cut you off. I didn't mean to.
No, you're just fine. No, that's all I was saying. That is the controversy. This is not me coming up with something. This is actually just feedback that I have received from a school counselor that does, 100 classes a month, and the crossover conflict that happens where the trainings aren't lining up, and it gets very confusing and very frustrating. So go ahead.
That's really good clarification. I was just going to say I think it's all been answered, but the state associations, like the State Counselor Association, they actually go over law. They're very Utah aligned. So I appreciate what you're saying, but I also, when I was a counselor, when we had access to the libraries and the tools and the resources of some of these other associations, I think that's where we got the benefit, was just having access. You kind of have to pay a fee to have access to periodicals or libraries. And Bethany, I assume that's still the case. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to name them specifically, but that's, when I was reading through this, that's how I saw it, is that it's just a matter of being able to use the funds to have access to those resources. So I appreciate your clarification. That helps.
So just to reiterate then, so you're saying that 143 and 144 membership in professional school counselor associations for one or more school counselors per school year. My understanding is that that gives access for teachers to go and get these. One of the reasons is to have access to trainings.
It's just the online resources. The membership allows them to have resources. So for example, if I'm a counselor working on attendance and trying to figure out what other states are doing, or are there some helps out there about attendance, there might be some periodicals and resources through the Counselor Association.
So may I give an example? American School Counselor Association just came out with a suicide prevention toolkit that has some great resources in that, but in order to get access to that toolkit, you have to be a member of the American School Counselor Association. And so speaking to what Superintendent Dixon is saying, there are online resources. It also, yes, they do also have like conferences and things like that, but there are online resources that you can go and get access to by being a member of that association.
Okay. Are there literally only 3 associations? USCA, CTE, ASCA.
Those are the ones we just put in there.
Okay.
And yes,
And
they're
they-
the only ones.
So there are the parent organizations and then the Utah affiliates.
So to the board members here, what are your thoughts then? Do we want to list those specifically? That's my question for 143 and 144. Do we list those specifically?
If it's limited to those, I don't see why we wouldn't.
Yeah.
For 2 reasons. One, I think if we're taking out American School Counselor Association, and that's really the only one, I think people need to know that that's, and what I mean, people, I think even the general public need to know that's where people may be going for information or resources. And you say there's just 2 others, there's not, that's it?
So you actually.
They're right there, Utah Tech for Education Association and American School Counselor Association.
It's UFD.
I know, what is it mean? Utah Association
For Technical Education.
At least I said it wrong. It's Utah Association for Career and Technical Education.
Sorry. So they're only not 5 organizations with the same letters.
Yeah. I typed in as good.
Our world of acronyms.
I know.
To bring this one. Yeah.
Okay, so now it
All
reads
right.
membership. Can you see that on your screen, Emily?
Yes, and I know that I totally jumped us from the components document over to the rule. I was just, and I appreciate that that's there so we could even put a bookmark there and jump back. I just wanted to make sure that I was trying to understand that bullet point for the school counseling program training, how it may or may not have tied into those 2 lines.
Great.
ACT.
Okay, so shall we get back to where we were?
One more addition, Rob.
Okay.
You forgot to add in the parent organization for the Utah Association for Career and Technical Education, and that's the American, it is the association, ACTE, Association for Career and Technical Education, which is a big component of our CTE division here in USBE.
Yeah, one's the Utah and one's the national.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so on the other document, I'm just wondering if we can go through, let me look back. I have some recommendations, so if we want to go through those so that we can.
Yeah, let's go through your amendments.
Let's do it.
Okay, I don't know if those are on.
Components?
Yeah, the components, sorry.
Sorry, trying to figure out.
You're okay.
How to do this. Create a new document.
And I would actually recommend that we went through each little piece and okayed it. Does that make sense? So like, for example, the top each student, so any changes and then either okay or okay. And the next piece, just so we can.
Right, let's do it. So we're at the top.
Yeah.
We will.
Okay, I think I got it.
Yeah, but this, it's not the one that's public, it was one. Yeah. Okay, so this, I would recommend under each student that we put, instead of access, it's opportunity and then achievement, attendance and behavior, adding attendance in. And then down, so I can read that. All program elements are to recognize and address the needs of each student. Opportunity, achievement, attendance, and behavior data for academic and non-academic student needs are used to guide a comprehensive K-12 school counseling program. And then the next sentence, this component provides the foundation for the school counseling program to assist each student in meeting their academic goals while also adhering to all applicable federal, state law, and state law, including those pertaining to student privacy or parental rights. And then striking the end part of that, which reads as an individual, and then modifications to program implementation based on identified gaps from components should be reflected in the remaining components. Just that last sentence, it didn't read quite right to me. So the other really focuses on the student and the components of that. That's my recommendation for one.
Question about that last part. Is there a reason why that was included originally? Because is it basically just trying to make it more all-encompassing by saying that the modification of the program is based on gaps? So basically you can, if they're seeing a need for helping students with ACT or SAT or something out of the blue, and then they could add that in as part of their academic.
Well, I think this is with the individual, right? And this is each student. So I think you're looking at each student component. So you're looking at their data in order to, or the overall, right? Mm-hmm. Not the overall, but the opportunity achievement. You're focusing once again right on them. So I don't know that it's necessary.
Okay.
If that makes sense. It's not the broader plan, it's the each student piece. Maybe.
I don't know, it just seems like it was very intentional, because it is like talking about reflected in the remaining components. The components should be reflected in the remaining modification. I don't know.
Could I have somebody translate that line actually? Because I'm wondering that too.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
So it's just saying that the school counseling is going to be, program components are going to be based on the needs. And then it says the remaining components. So like the next one is your data effectiveness and program improvement. Your school might be having 50 kids come into the school counseling program a day saying, I have anxiety. And then you can modify the school counseling program to, hey, let's focus on helping these kiddos. Let's teach them skills on how to deal with, anxiety so they can stay in the classroom and things like that. So it's just saying that we just want to make sure that it's
giving flexibility within each school to be able to adapt their program based on things that they're seeing as need or gaps. Okay, that's what I kind of was thinking.
So, and the way that our school counselor, this school counselor explained it, is that every 3 years they come together, they review that, they find what they may or may not need, what they do need. She said stakeholders, so community council members, parents, teachers, counselors, and they say, hey, we need to focus on this area. And then they present that, and that's what they focus on for a 3-year period. Is that a set amount of time, or was she just giving me a general timestamp? Is it every 3 years that those plans are reviewed?
It's every 3 years that the needs assessment, the systemic assessment is done that you were talking about with parents and students and faculty. The data projects are done every year. And so the school counseling team, in collaboration with school community council and administration, decides, hey, this is what we're seeing. Maybe a graduation rate amongst a certain population. We need to focus on things like that. And then they decide what that data project is and work on that throughout the year.
So like they're realizing that a lot of let's say it's high school and they're realizing that a lot of students aren't going to college or not even wanting to apply. So maybe they could integrate more technical education information into their school counseling program so they can.
Yes.
Open that, yeah, okay. Or like include, let's say they were in Davis County, they could have Davis Tech come more to talk to students, like adding that as something.
Career
Yeah,
day, I mean, it can be, all sorts of things.
I would prefer to leave it there just based on
So
that.
I'm trying to understand, are you saying that you're looking at the trends and then you're modifying a individual student's program based on the trends in the school?
Not the individual students, the school counseling program.
Right, so
overall.
I'm looking at and this section is each student, that's why I'm wondering if this is the right place to put it. Does that make sense, what you're saying?
Yes.
If it's
Yeah.
if there's another spot for it, it doesn't make sense here to me. Unless we're saying that the trends, we're gonna make sure each student we focus on whatever we're seeing as the missing component for each trend, we're gonna make sure each student is. But I don't think that's what we're saying.
No, that's not what we're saying.
You're wanting to make sure that if there are trends, that that component is able to be put into the
school
counseling program. So that's my only question. Does that make sense?
So do you move that sentence down to data effectiveness and program improvement?
That would be a good idea.
It just doesn't fit under each student to me.
I think that's a good.
Yeah. So.
Do we want to make that change then?
Yeah, to take it off for now, and then if, Sarah's gonna remember, board member Rail's gonna remember that it's gotta go somewhere.
They remember that.
Okay, there you go. Okay, yeah. Okay, we could unless there's questions, we could probably vote on this one.
You want to vote? Bullet by bullet?
Yeah, don't you think?
Yes. Please.
Are concerns about any of those changes? Can we live with them? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Sounds to me like I heard four. Of course, with my hearing, you never know.
So in the next section,
Data effectiveness.
I want to add in, so data projects are developed and implemented based on the data results to increase student achievement, daily attendance, increase protective factors.
There's more to that.
Sorry, that's right. Increase protective factors and evaluate program effectiveness. And then we move down to program implementation based on identified gaps. Yeah, I think that works there. So, and then we move down, just for the public knows, modification to program implementation based on identified gaps from the component. This component should be, is there, this component work there?
This component was referring to.
It
Yeah,
now
I just
refers to the data program.
Okay, yeah,
So I think that
okay,
makes
we're good then.
sense.
All right. Should be reflected in the remaining components. Okay.
So just so I'm clear, so you want to add like more details about achievement, attendance, just to bring more clarity to that section when it comes to data.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Because those, when we talk early warning, not the programs that are providing that, but the research behind early warning has to do with student achievement, attendance, and, well, we have protective factors, but it is behavior.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so.
Feel good about that.
So should we say behavior? I have no idea what you're talking about with protective factors. That's like, hello?
Do counselors understand that?
Yes. So we had a big training summer conference on it last year, but I would like.
I could tell I should have gone.
Do we want to add
What?
that?
Studies
Yeah,
weapons.
could you explain that to me a little bit? What that protective factors are?
Their characters or skills that increase positive outcomes for children. So
Sounds good.
examples of those would be social connections, increasing appropriate social connections, increasing resiliency, providing basic needs, food, clothing, shelter. So concrete supports is what we call those, and increasing their knowledge of their development. Those are the types of things. And this is the protective factor model that we utilize in prevention. So.
Wow, you guys are something.
Truly.
Right.
And this is based on a research and evidence informed model that's used in many different arenas. So.
Thank you. All right, let's go back to that bullet number 2, or are we on number 2?
Yes.
Okay. So with those changes, any further discussion or question? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous. Number 3.
I don't have any on that one unless Emily, do you have
Number 4.
any? Okay. So we can pass this to you. So
Yes, Emily.
we're on career literacy then?
Unless she had something on the one just before that. Emily?
I maybe just clarify what product means, both as a process and a product.
I think
I
is
just
that
wanted to know what that meant.
So when we talk about college and career readiness, it is in Utah code, legislative code. The process we talk about is we're always working with our students on career and college opportunities. If that's in elementary school and maybe they have a career day, or your mom or dad comes in and talks about their job, I'm a firefighter, and that kind of stuff. So we talk about that as the process. But then we also have the product, which is a CCR plan, which is in Utah code, required that they have those in 7th through 12th grade. They need to have an individual plan in 7th or 8th grade, an individual plan in 9th and 10th, and an individual plan in 11th and 12th. And so that is the product. They have that plan. That plan often changes from 7th grade to 12th grade on kind of maybe what their interests are or what they want to do when they graduate. But it also helps to inform school counselors on helping students decide maybe what classes they want to take based on their interests. Maybe they want to do like an MTech or some of these different programs they want to do, maybe our early college or an internship or an apprenticeship. And so it's that process along with the plan. What was the other word? Product.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's great. That bullet point is solid.
so that was the bullet up above this one, right?
Yeah. Okay, so career literacy, I just have, and I have one possible option, or just to strike it completely. Students will complete high school, this is the last line, with the social capital necessary to participate fully in their community. My question is, I don't know what that is. I do know with our new vision and mission statement, we have students will complete high school with the skills outlined. I just would advocate for that, outlined in USPE's vision statement. That's what has to go there. So I don't know who's driving that. And strike social capital. I guess I would strike social capital necessary to participate fully in their community. So students will complete high school with the skills outlined in USBE's vision statement. Which are I can read them. Yeah. They are those key things that when you graduate, we want you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we can vote on that.
Great. Already, all those in favor, say aye.
Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I don't think we need the necessary to participate fully in their community. Yeah, sorry. I wanted to get that right before we.
So what it is saying for those that are just listening, career literacy. Career literacy provides students with the capacity to make informed decisions regarding their college and career readiness plan. Through career development assistance for all students, which includes career awareness and exploration, job applications, interview skills, and understanding of career and technical education, CTE pathways, and 1, 2, 4, or more years of post-secondary educational opportunities, students will complete high school with the skills outlined in USBE's vision statement, period. Any concerns? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Collaborative classroom instruction.
I don't have anything. Emily, do you have anything there?
No, I don't.
Is there something wrong with analyses there? Kind of like CES.
It's a Google issue.
Yeah.
analysis is.
Anything on, okay, so dropout prevention with strong character supports.
Yeah, that's part of
So
it.
has social emotional been absolutely stricken from the dictionary?
No.
No, it hasn't, but we've also not stricken character development as well. The one focuses more on those values or those things that society would uphold as consistent over time established. Where social and emotional has to do, I think, with more emotion-based type of things instead of it's more relevant to individuals' perception versus and focused more on self versus the strong character supports that we see consistent throughout society. That's how I would articulate it. So
My thoughts on this is that I just worry that maybe it would be unclear what strong character supports are, possibly. Like maybe strong social and emotional character supports could work.
I would consider that. So
Just to make sure that it's clear just to not change definitions on
I'm
folks.
just totally open to whatever we say, as long as somebody can understand it. And if I read
let's put dropout prevention
with strong character supports, I have no idea what we're talking about.
What if we just did dropout prevention as because that's the code thing, and then what underneath the support, strong, dropout prevention supports, which could be a variety of things, right? And okay, I would vote that we just strike with social emotional learning supports and just put dropout prevention supports.
Great.
Because it's more
that works.
expansive.
I can understand.
Yeah.
For those of us that are trying to understand.
Would that still be clear?
I'm sorry, what?
Would that still be clear?
I feel like the social emotional learning supports, we use that definition in our definitions. I just feel like dropout prevention with supports. I guess that's overall.
Back a couple years, I know I'm not supposed to say anything, so don't listen to me. But was referred to as responsive services.
Yes, we could actually change that back to responsive services. That was really clear to school counselors because it was responsive to whatever kids were coming in for. Like, my friends are mad at me and I need to talk to someone, or I feel like I'm being picked on, or this teacher's giving me a bad grade, or whatever it is.
Yeah. And if that was like, my biggest concern is just that folks understand what, you know what I mean? And so if that's something that they understand, or
I think we would just call it responsive services and not call it dropout prevention. That's up to you to decide if you want to do that.
I like the dropout prevention just because it covers the academic piece.
I would agree. Actually, another feedback they were is a third grader dropped out. And they're like, never see that third grader again. Dropout prevention can also apply to elementary level. And there may be things there that we could respond with. So if we kept dropout prevention and responsive service supports, I like that.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I know families down here, I just want to, the prevention and your responses here have to somehow correlate with, we're going to have that communication piece with our parents, right? Without that in there, and I understand we're putting them down with school, family, resources, but those are resources. You have to have that connection with your family. This is breathing that warmth back in here. I'm not sure. Yeah, everyone put it. I mean, it's either you're communicating with parents somehow in order to create, especially in that responsive services and the dropout prevention. So I'm not sure where to put that.
I put it first. So programmatic approach and in
Just one
collaboration.
clarification, we have to always go through the chair in making comments and,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the. Yeah, but if we.
With family.
So the program provides a
Chair, may I
systemic
have
approach.
a comment as well. Are Vice Chair Earl, are you asking on this bullet right here, that instead of the word family, that you have something to do with parents specifically, or are you asked?
Yeah, the program provides systemic approach to addressing immediate concerns, identified needs of all students. And then by engaging with the family, the parent, right?
And partnership with school family?
Well, it's not a partnership though.
Yeah.
Let's see, the program provides a systemic approach to addressing immediate concerns with parents and identifying needs of students, something like that, immediate, because you're talking, I mean, this, am I wrong in this?
I feel like, I get what you're going at. I think family is probably more all encompassing for students that may be raised by their older sibling or, you know.
But even in that case, we still refer to it as.
Well, you would say like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Would
but
say
if you say
parent.
family, then it makes maybe
Oh.
is more all encompassing than
Immediate
parents.
concerns. I don't know. Does that make sense, or do I need to?
If what you're saying, the content of what you're saying makes sense, the sentence will not make sense.
I know, that's where I'm
That's
having
the
the trouble, and that's
yes.
even trying to reword it, it didn't quite land there.
Yeah.
Member
So maybe
Earl,
it's just, yeah,
so are you struggling with where family is placed in this bullet point? In
Family
collaboration
is
with
cons-
existing?
yeah, to me, it's considered a resource. It's not the primary engagement piece when it comes to the dropout prevention, or, you know what I mean, those immediate responsive services.
So where can we put it? So it would be where you want it.
That's what I'm trying to,
Could you say coordination with family first and then
yeah.
school program and community resources? Because I think it's saying coordinating with the family, but
Programs and coordination with school family resources. Well, okay, so it's maybe coordinating with family for school and community resources. No, maybe.
sometimes the family is a resource though. If the parents are aware of something going on that maybe they weren't aware of, they are also a resource. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and I will say with the school counselor, they said the quickest way we can fix the things that are going on with our students is to strengthen the family. That is the first contact. That's the first line of defense.
If you put it at the beginning, would it get at what you're asking?
I think so. I'm just trying to figure it. So maybe program provides a systemic approach.
Well, actually, if you move up the in coordination with the family, the program provides a systemic approach.
Yeah, I think that does it.
Love it.
But then you need to get rid of it at the end, because then that's what screws the sentence up, is having it twice.
So is it this whole
No, I
phrase
just
that we're
think
moving to the top, or just?
To start with, in coordination with the family.
Coordination with the family, the
Yeah.
program.
Okay, the program provides a systemic, yes, that does it, that. Collaboration with existing student programs and coordination with school family, and we can still use family and community resources, right? So, yeah, we just want to take out, the other family down below, there you go.
So erase that?
No,
Just the word family.
Just the word family,
Yeah.
put family back in.
Okay,
where
does
you
that
struggled
work?
before.
School programs and coordination with school
No.
and community resources.
okay.
So is that?
Okay, so this one now reads,
Yeah.
dropout prevention and responsive services and supports. In coordination with family, the program provides a systemic approach to addressing the immediate concerns and identified needs of all students through an education-oriented and programmatic approach, and in collaboration with existing school programs and coordination with school, family, and community resources. And it seems pretty wordy.
Says coordination with family, coordination with school, family. So I think that's if we can eliminate those two. So in coordination.
In collaboration with and in coordination.
It's because so it's collaboration with programs, coordination with resources. That That's what the sentence originally says, which those are two different ideas. Collaborate, program, coordinate resources, but they might not both be
We've
necessary.
got coordinate up at the top now.
Yes.
Can we add the other two things up there? So
And
it's
just really
in
simplify
coordination
it.
with family, school, and community resources, the program provides a systemic
You
approach.
change the nature of it in doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it,
Chair, may I? If we said, and in collaboration with existing school programs and coordination, take out the family with school and community resources. Because we already say in coordination with family at the top. Do we need to have that in there again?
Or just, and in collaboration with existing school programs, which probably includes community resources. I mean, is that? Or just say
Programs which may include community
including,
resources.
yeah, or which may,
Existing school programs and community resources and take the rest of that out.
yeah.
The existing school programs, I think that's fine.
Okay, that's good. So it now reads dropout prevention and responsive services and supports. In coordination with family, the program provides a systemic approach to addressing the immediate concerns and identified needs of all students through an education-oriented and programmatic approach, and in collaboration with existing school programs and community resources. Okay, that doesn't feel wordy to me. That feels clear.
Yeah, I think.
Any other concerns? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
I
Aye. Thank you.
did Emily.
Emily?
My-
Alignment, we're good?
My next one is in time allotment, but I don't know if Emily has any, or if you guys have any in the others. If not, we can skip down to time allotment, allocation, sorry.
Emily, do you have any in these that we're passing by?
No.
Thank you.
So it would just,
Time allocation?
would correlate the language with dropout prevention and the language we just used.
Responsive.
Yeah, responsive services.
I guess I have a question on what alignment, what a feeder system is.
Okay.
Chair, may I?
Please.
So a feeder system is considered your elementary, junior high, and high school that all feed into each other. Sometimes we have 5 elementaries and 2 junior highs and 1 high school, and sometimes we have several junior highs that might split into 2 high schools. And so the feeder system is to kind of create that transition process of, okay, we're going to go to the 6th graders that are coming to the junior high next year, and we're going to tell them all about the fun things that we get to do at junior high and the classes and the activities. And then same thing with high school. So it's aligning with the school counselors amongst those different programs to talk about that so we can have smooth transitions between those feeder schools.
It's like the pipeline, right?
Perfect. Thank you.
You heading back down. We're now on time allocation. And dropout prevention with responsive services.
And I just at the end, I would add one other item and parent feedback. So it says, consistent with the results of school data, identified student needs and parent feedback at the very end.
Yeah.
And parent feedback at the end, okay?
So we would strike the other and put a comma. That's it. There.
Okay, so it reads time allocation. 85% of aggregate school counselors' time is devoted to direct services to students through a balanced program of individual planning, collaborative classroom instruction, and dropout prevention with responsive services and supports consistent with the results of school data, identified student needs, and parent feedback.
Can we put the Oxford comma in there?
I know.
I speak to this just real quick. The parent feedback part is what we do from the 7th grade up in order to write the plans, right? So this is just correlating with the plans that are being written. Okay.
Concerns? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, anything on, this is our trainings one, we've already been here.
And supports. Is there anything, did Emily have anything on there? It matches.
Emily, any
No.
other?
No, I think we're good. I think for clarity, could we just discuss real quick the use of data? The program uses multiple data sources, including the formal systemic assessment for strategic program implementation to improve student outcomes. Could you just clarify what those data sources are and the systemic assessments are?
Yeah, so the data sources could be your school climate survey. There's what's called the SOAR report that is all of the public information that is sent to USBE, and they just organize that for our school counselors. So like graduation rates, how many students maybe have an IEP, things like that. It could be, and then the systemic assessment is what we talked about earlier, what they do every 3 years with the parents and the students. That is an opt-in, so that they do sign a form to fill that out. But that's the formal systemic assessment that's used for to guide the school counseling program.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All righty. So have we been through everything on this document?
Well, we need to vote on that
We
one.
need to do the final.
But I do have one more item I would like to add as a bullet point.
Okay, so which one are we?
I don't think we voted on time allocation, did we? Maybe we did and I didn't.
I thought we just did.
Oh, we did. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
we did.
I would add in there just law alignment as one of the provisions. Or one of the, do you know what I mean, headings? Yeah, bullet point.
I'll fix it later.
Law alignment. And then school counseling. What's the school counseling program? What's the title we want? School counseling program. Yeah, comprehensive school counseling program aligns with key provisions. Sorry, aligns with key provisions of federal and state law related to program implementation. I don't know that we have to, but you're not really breaking everything out. These are just the components, right?
Right. I was
So do you
wondering
think-
if we could add, may I make a suggestion, Chair? If we could add federal and state law and local education agency policies.
I'm good with that. Let's add board rule as well, because those should correlate, right?
Sure.
Board rule.
Beautiful.
That is
Local, oh, that is technically state.
Oh, yeah, we've argued that before.
Okay, those are
Oh, I see what you're asking. So then LEA policies, where does that come into play? What if those are in, those should be in correlation with?
They're not state law, and
Yeah, see what I'm saying? Do we put that in there or not then? Because
Wouldn't state law say what's in the LEA policy?
some LEAs do have more intensive policies than required state law, is what I guess.
but they wouldn't violate state law. So that's where I'm getting at, is we wanna, right? That we wanna make sure. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it could even be argued that the rule broadens out. So is it? I don't know. I'm trying to think through.
I guess if there are LEAs with stricter policies than state law, then it seems like it would be important to put that in there.
Sure, if we could have AAG abuse.
I just don't know.
On this one. So this document is about state level implementation at the state level, correct? And then, am I correct? And then the LEAs have the ability to make more strict, doing different things afterwards. And so I'm just wondering what would need to, in this as the state document, the level of clarification or guardrails that need to be put in place, and then what that looks like at an LEA level. What level do they need to go to?
Please.
I know with our educator standards, we expect them to not only abide by state law, but we expect them to know what their LEA policies are as well and to follow those LEA policies as well. So if you are mirroring what your educator standards are, you would include LEA policies here. That's an obligation that the counselors have, is to know not just the state law, but to know what their LEA policies are too, and to follow that so that parents can rely on that and know that they're going to follow the LEA policy too.
Excellent. Let's get it.
Member
Okay.
Earl
Yeah.
and everybody there. Is this the place where we address the licensure or the licensing for the roles that all of these different categories fall under? Or is this something else?
The licensing rules.
And we're not talking.
Well, I don't know if you can hear them, what they're saying, but it would fall under the licensing rule, which would fall under state law. That's why we wouldn't have to articulate the rule itself in here.
Okay.
At least from what I'm understanding, right? That's where that provision would be,
So this one could address what I had brought up earlier. Is that correct? If not, let me know.
I comment on that. Emily, I believe that it would, because it would be that they need to work within the parameters of what their own license allows them to work within. So to be in compliance with state law, they need to work within the parameters of what their license allows them to do. So I understand your concern, and I do think it covers it.
in a broader sense, we could just add including licensure,
Working within the parameters of the
licensure, privacy, you know what I mean? Those kind of, if we wanted to, right?
Could we add that, please? I like that. We can rephrase it, but working within the parameters of
licensure. Right after implementation, is that a comma, including, or are we doing a new bullet?
No, I think we can just do including.
Is that the legal rules?
Of licensure.
Anything else? Data.
And yeah, I would say data privacy. What's a huge one? Or student privacy. Data privacy, maybe data privacy. Okay.
Probably data, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we good?
Yes.
Okay, law alignment now reads a comprehensive school counseling program aligns with key provisions of federal and state law and LEA policies related to program implementation, including working within the parameters of licensure and data privacy. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Unanimous. Next.
I think we can approve
That's
that.
the whole document.
So,
All right, do you want to?
you want me to make the motion?
That'd be great.
Okay, I move that the committee approve the Utah K through 12 Comprehensive School Counseling Program components as amended and forward to the board for approval.
Thank you. We've just heard the motion. Any further questions? Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so now we're to the second step of four,
Where's the board rule? Yes, the board rule.
the board rule. All right. Terrific. What amendments do we have to the board rule?
Just let me ask real quick, is this other document also included in 462?
No, it's the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
I know it's, that's why.
I know that. I was like trying to figure out what.
Yeah.
Okay, so any concerns about this?
Yes, I did on line 47. I just want to know, do we need to articulate a starting date? Just because we're now putting provisions in here regarding our this is rated as a 3, right? We're putting in the framework. Do we need a date? We have here at least once every 6 years participate in an on-site program review. Do we need a starting date beginning
We have been doing those.
You've already been
We
doing
have a schedule. I've got them all scheduled
So
for
it
next
would not
year.
impact, you would just
It
continue
will just
your,
be
okay, so, okay, I just didn't know if that was the only question.
You guys have something to add to that?
Hold on,
Continuing
Lola.
formal reviews. We don't need a starting date because we're just continuing, correct?
She's already had at least every 6 years.
Yeah, it's every 6 years.
You're just putting it into.
She's just saying, do we need a starting date? And I was saying, I don't
Already
know.
started.
Because we started.
Okay,
20
well, then
years
that's,
ago.
okay.
Good question.
So then
Good
on
answer.
line number 75, it says, so we're under, let me get to this section, we're under components document. No, inclusion of components document. Sorry, let me look where we're. School counseling program approval, qualifying one is one. To qualify for funding distribution outlined in subsection 2. Yes, so we're under 1. I just want to make sure. So it's qualifying for funding, you have to. On line 75, it says design a program that includes the needs of diverse students. Who are diverse students?
My lines are off.
Oh, sorry, it's
So I don't
N,
know what
it's
you're-
N. Does that mean that we have specific students or is that the unique, is it the,
It's the needs of all students.
so then that's what we need there. All students within the school?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I would put there. Unless we're talking about that's narrowed to only some students. So it's the design a program that includes the needs of all students within the school. Okay. I would make that
So
motion.
insert all where the verse was.
Okay, sorry.
Students within the school.
Do you want within the school or just all students?
Within the school. Well, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter, does it?
It's also. Okay, let me think that one through really quick.
If we stay within the school and we have online kiddos.
We have online.
Okay,
We have different kids coming in for different.
All students.
Then I would just say all students.
Okay, great. Okay, any others?
Yes, and I appreciate
Are we
it.
gonna vote on each of these or?
Do you want to vote separate?
Yeah.
Okay, then let's vote on it separate. Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of the one we just did? Which was, it's all
Design.
students.
Aye.
Aye.
I,
No, I'm gonna vote no on principal.
Okay,
Okay. And I appreciate, I met with staff just briefly to ask about, because in the law itself, it articulates individual learning plan, and then it also articulates college and career readiness. And there really aren't two separate plans. I'm just talking, letting the public know this. So in the law, we're gonna probably ask for a removal of the individual learning plan so that it's just one plan and there's not a confusion as do we have two plans going on or not? So just maybe some narrative there.
well, and I think it also aligns with the graph that I was showed earlier. You know, that 100% is all students, and you know, that's that checkpoint, and then it delineates out from that.
Okay, and then we already made the possible change for adding in the names of the associations, right? That's in this rule. Online.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, we haven't voted yet, but I just wanted to, right, kind of mark that. Okay, I think that's all I have on this one, so. Cool.
My question is about line 16. This rule 2774 is categorized as category 3 as described in rule R277111. We added that one. Could I ask why? Just out of like curiosity.
I can answer that. Okay. I can answer that. Because from here forward, after you did your framework, your 111, Rule 111 framework, from here forward, every time you amend a rule, you'll make an analysis of what your involvement is as a Board of Education and what your obligation in monitoring it is. And this is one that you have a higher level of monitoring in. And so it would be a category 3 is what staff is suggesting that you categorize this counseling program in, because you have staff that's assigned to it that actually goes out and monitors it. And so you have a much higher level of monitoring than you do in ones where It's simply the LEA is doing it on their own and there's no obligation and you have no staffing assigned to it. And so when you look at your framework in 111, that's where it fits. This is the intent is forward, we label each one.
And in this case, we don't do it yearly, right? It's not annually we ask for this. We're doing the monitoring every 6 years, so it would fall under the 3 versus a 2. And it's not intensive enough to be a 4, at least from what when I read through the rule.
So each school counseling program evaluates themselves every year. There's an evaluation form that they fill out and send to their local LEA. The local LEA evaluates their school counseling program, and this is what Board Member Green was talking about every 3 years. So they get together and go through and say, are we doing this? What are we all doing? And then they send that into us. And then every 6 years, we go out and we have a schedule and monitor different LEAs based on that schedule. And so they are getting monitored regularly, but by USBE specifically only every 6 years.
So could I clear the air a little bit here about one major concern that I always had with 111 is that concept, though, that it's labeled a category. So if things are going on that might need to be addressed, it can be dismissed because it's only a category 3. If there are things going on that need to be addressed, can we give those concerns a fair shake and not just have, well, it's category 3, so we don't do a lot there. I just get worried. I've always been worried about that.
So is it okay if I speak to that? I don't think if we saw and I say we in a broad sense, right? Staff or our board members, if we saw violation, and that's why 114 comes into play in addition to 111, is it allows for that immediate, we can check informally at first and say, hey, we've heard problems with X, Y, and Z. Are you having, you know what I mean? Your school counselor isn't qualified or whatever. I don't know, right? Like, or they taught this lesson and this is out of their reach, their license. It would seem that could come in under a more informal process and then could lead to a more formal process if there were violations. Am I misspeaking, or is that?
Do corrective action plans on any of the categories for the things that you have responsibility to monitor.
Did you hear that, Emily?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you say that one more time for me so it'll sink in my thick skull?
Sure. Yes, as staff and then moving up to your deputy superintendents and to you as a board, you can do corrective action plans on any category if the LEA is not complying with rule and law. You could have to move forward with the way that your 114 rule is spelled out.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I do think it also allows us, if we think that the category was categorized incorrectly, moving a year down the road, it allows us to bring that back and to say, I think this is more of a 2, right? That we really don't have the resources or the oversight, or it's more of a 4. We're just seeing violations and we really need to be more intentional about our engagement.
My worst case scenario probably would be that, it's a category 3. We're not going to really address that 6 years later instead of being able to address it right away just because of oversight or miscommunication or something. But we just keep that high standard there and not just generalize into categories.
Can I address that, Chair?
Please do.
So if we have had concerns, maybe we've had a school that hasn't had a school counselor for a year or 2, or they have high turnover, we do address that immediately. That's something that we don't wait and say, we're going to wait for your 6-year review and see if, you're meeting compliance. So that is something that is addressed. Hopefully that eases your mind a little bit.
Yes, thank you. Very good. Okay, great. That's all I had.
So where are we now?
We're ready to make a motion.
Please do.
Okay, is this draft 2 we're working on?
Yes.
Okay, so I move that the committee approve R277462 right? That's the right number. Draft 2 on first reading and forward, as amended, first reading as amended and forward to the board for approval on second and final reading.
Thank you. We have a motion that the committee approve R277462, draft 2 on first reading and forward to, as amended and forward to the board for approval on second and final reading. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. That's unanimous. Okay, now we're moving on to action item 1.5. Is that right?
Yeah. Six.
No, 1.6.
I do have just maybe one, I wonder if we go to 404, I don't think I didn't have much on that one, or is that one necessary for the other two? Because that one could be quick. I think that the school counseling services document may take us a little time. Does that make sense?
Do that
You mean
one
just-
first because it's
Yeah, knock it
incorporated
out.
in the other one.
Yeah, it's not correlated with the others. I wonder if we can just get it done.
Just Aaron's rule.
We would love to.
You know what I mean? Because the others may take some more discussion and time, and
Let's just knock it out.
Yeah, and I have Kim Rathke's here today for this topic, who's our
Oh, yeah.
assessment data coordinator. She's
that-
probably on her
Sure, I
way
don't know.
now.
Does that work for you?
She heard us say that.
Yeah, so let's
So
move
school
to
council needs to take a quick break and come back in. That would work. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's.
You want me to?
Utah State Board of Education terms, that means not more than 15 minutes.
Video picturing.
That's right. Just know everybody's in here that the audio is very sensitive. If you hear all the discussion.
Oh, are we taking a break? Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. What do you think person you
Thanks
are?
for all that you've done. I'm a Granite kid, so
Oh, you are. When did you go to school?
Oakridge and Churchill. I was in holiday.
Okay, nice. Scott, did you go to Skyline too then?
I didn't, my family moved when I was in ninth grade, so I
Okay.
I went to school in Colorado, but my mom teaches in Granite.
Oh, where does she teach?
Churchill.
Oh, awesome.
CTE.
Oh, Churchill's such a good school.
She has the cool lake. She has the sewing wheel.
So
In the classroom, and then she has the classroom across the hall.
the counselors there have their own classroom.
Oh,
So the kids come to them to do their collaborative classroom instruction.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a cool building.
Not, it is.
It's like they built Churchill and Skyline, thinking that we were in California though.
Yeah.
Cause there's the middle, it's all outside, but no one goes out there.
Space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Kind
funny.
of wasted space.
It is, yeah.
Now, what's your name?
Sarah, real.
Sarah Real.
Yes.
Okay, and which,
Where's my district?
uh-huh.
It's, so I have Granite, Murray and Salt Lake. They took Carol Lear's district and they redistricted and she's mostly east of 7th East and I'm west of 7th East. So I have downtown all the way to West Valley,
Like
really
how
far
far?
out. I basically go along I-80 almost to Magna and then I cut back down and I have West Valley,
Then you're
South Salt
probably
Lake,
my
Murray, Mill Creek. Oh, really cool.
Yeah. I live out in West Valley area.
Well,
It's
it's like-
near Hunter High School.
Okay, so I think you might have, it's like Matt and I live kind of,
Okay.
cause I go, it's weird, cause I work at Slick and Slick, the Redwood campus is in my district, but then it whips around and then goes west, so. I can't remember what west I go to, but I think I have it if you wanna see it. I think it's.
Because I looked, I can't remember after you vote, you forget who you
Oh,
voted.
yeah, you do your research.
But Linda Hanson was our board member years ago, but I think,
So I go up to 56 west.
okay, then I'm a little bit west. I'm on 6,000 west,
What south are you at?
3694
Oh,
south.
so you have Matt.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Yeah.
All right.
Hi, Miss. Right on. Well, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for
Oh,
coming.
nice to meet you too.
Oh. I have a question for her that's totally unrelated.
For me,
No.
Michelle. She should be back.
Blur.
You are awesome. It's so nice to have such advocacy from our board. I love it. I love the thought that put into everything. I apologize.
It's all right, we just don't usually have.
Is the counting one time sensitive, or you guys are good?
It expires in May,
We
so
also don't normally
we
do
would have to get it done next month. Experience in counseling.
No, I know, I do that.
There's one of ours.
Yes.
Retirement. Off there.
Well, I'm still practicing.
Oh, you are?
We're not practicing.
With that today.
Oh, you're practicing retirement. I've heard that often.
For all those years.
It's weird.
It's a little deal.
Gabrielle had a question for you. Yeah, she said it was unrelated, so I mean, she could retire, but
I'm 70.
yeah, she's, I don't know, she's just, it keeps her like happy and active and doing things. She loves the kids so much, so I think that helps.
Okay. I used to know the counselor at Morgan High School. But no, I didn't. That was back in the early 90s.
We didn't.
Okay. Now I can see him in my mind. At gray hair at the time. And there was just one counselor, one counselor.
Here. You have it blown up now.
Great.
I know, that area.
Yeah.
Do those.
Yep, let's do it.
Thanks for your patience.
Sorry to keep you waiting so many times.
She's like, that's not my cut. What's happening here?
It's almost like getting in the wrong side of the parking lot, right?
Which I have done before. Last weekend. Trying to get it. Pull up next 404 like.
Okay, do we have board member Green again?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, great. We're missing Deputy Superintendent Patty.
She'll be right back. She was gonna grab a snack.
Oh, good. Well, since Patty does know most everything, why don't we let you just give us the backdrop of what we're doing today,
Okay,
Darren?
all right. And go ahead and introduce yourself, then I'll introduce myself.
Kim Rathke, Test Administration and Data Coordinator, USB.
Darren Nielsen, Assistant Superintendent of Student Learning at the State Board of Education. It's pretty typical that each year we'll bring 404 before the board because it incorporates the standard testing ethics policy that the board also has. So it's common we revise that as we go out and do observations in the field each spring for testing, and as we look at issues that come in through the audit hotline. It's not uncommon for us to have recommendations around the testing ethics policy. This year, those recommendations are related to an internal audit that was conducted last year and published in the fall on data reliability assessment. And that audit had a recommendation that the board consider the two-proctor requirement and potentially create definitions around that, because when they were in the field, there was some confusion about the two proctors that are required in the assessment. So you'll see reference to that. And then also the reporting requirements task force that the board has had for more than a year now has talked about reducing burden on LEAs. That audit also mentions the annual testing plan that's referenced in 404. And that audit that they conducted also addressed that. And so you'll see a recommendation around the annual testing plan. But I'll let Kim, who really does the day-to-day work on this, be able to answer questions and also any other background and knowledge that you might want to have presented before you discuss the proposed language.
We'll address the assurance document first. As Darren said, in an effort to kind of reduce that reporting that comes from our LEAs, we really examined the purpose of the testing plan and what the assessment section actually does with it. And as we've moved further and further into online testing, requiring our LEAs to submit the actual dates when they're going to be testing is no longer required by our assessment vendors, because now it's a window. They don't have to put a specific date in a system. And because of that, we said, you know what, there might be a better way to have them report and still meet the requirements of 404, which are that they do have to submit every single year the knowledge that they have planned their testing for the year, so that nobody goes, oops, whoop, we forgot. They're testing every year, that they're training every staff member that will be involved in test administration in whatever statewide test that includes. Every employee doesn't have to be trained on every single test, but the tests that they are required to oversee, they're required to do that. And then also making sure, and the third thing is also that they're being trained on what to do with the results of that testing. How do you use the data instructionally or in the appropriate way that the assessment was designed? So what the APAC has recommended is that rather than submit a very detailed long plan, which was done on a Qualtrics survey, the Excel spreadsheet goes over about in a widescreen monitor, by the time they answer all the questions for me to look at it, it's about 4 screens straight across. We're going to recommend that they do an insurance document that incorporates all of that, that will say that we have a plan. We're going to test people. We are going to train people. They are going to complete testing ethics training. We are going to include our, employees in data use and all of that, so that it's a quicker, easier, simpler process for them, because everyone's been doing it. So that was our recommendation for the assurance document.
Yeah, and Kim mentioned APAC. That's the Assessment Accountability Policy Advisory Committee that the board has, and we've worked with them, and we've also worked with the assessment directors that we meet with annually on both of these recommendations, and have received strong support from the field.
Sorry, we continue.
You go right
to
ahead.
know everything.
No, I'm a learner.
All right. Board members, do you have any specific questions?
I had one question. I just have, do we need to indicate in the rule the periodic auditing of this? Because if we're gonna put it as a 3, there would be periodic auditing. Is there a need for that? I know there's quite a few provisions in here, and maybe not, maybe there's enough with their yearly feedback that's the auditing we do, or the validation. I just didn't know if there needed to be a time period.
Yeah, and the 3 that board member Earl was mentioning is related to a framework we now have for every rule. Ben Rasmussen, actually, when we prepared the draft, he said, is it a 4? And I said, well, we do monitor. Kim leads the monitoring of assessments, but we don't monitor every LEA, and we don't do it annually. So we select a region of the state, and then and Kim can talk about the process. But that was why in Ben's recommendation of starting at a 4, I thought, well, I don't think we're at the level that a lot of programs are. They either have a desktop monitoring tool that they have to complete every year, or they get on-site monitoring visits annually. Kim, you want to talk about that process?
Yes, we have a 5-year observation plan that is posted and that we created years ago. It's on our website, and we designed it to, it's basically divided up into our regional service centers, and we pick select a specific part of the state. This year we're doing the southeastern Utah section, and we travel down there and we observe schools. We allow the LEAs, it's more an observation than a monitoring. We're not there for compliance as much as we're there to provide service and an ability for them to provide us any feedback that they may need. Are there additional training needs, or is there something within the system that is frustrating to them that we can take back to our assessment vendors and fix? Things like that. Those are the main reasons we go and observe. And we always do as many of the schools, at least the secondary, we always evaluate Utah Aspire Plus, our RISE assessments. And then this year we'll be doing a lot of with remote proctoring, we'll be doing our online schools as well. And that's mainly the process that we go in, and we do it that way. And we've posted our 5-year plan. We of course had 2020, so our 5-year plan is really more like a 6-year plan on our rotation. But now we're back and we do that. So,
do we think that needs to be incorporated in here anywhere? Just that reference that 5-year, every 5 years we do, and if it's not monitoring, it's observation related to the provisions. And I guess the only reason why I'm asking is because it gives us the referencing back. Like if we're categorizing it a 3, then what are we going to do? Does that make sense? It's not annual, but what is it that it is? And that's, I just wanted to know if we needed to probably put that in there so that it's clear if.
Possibly, the main reason we do assessment observations is primarily to meet our federal peer review assessment guidelines. So that's the main reason why assessment observations are occurring, because we're required by our federal peer review to prove that we go out and monitor our assessments. The 5-year plan that we established, we could put it in there. I'm not sure. So that's a question up to the board, because honestly, we've never had that in there.
So I guess it would go, for me, it would probably go under line 103, the superintendent responsibilities. Right? Let me just look right there real quick. The superintendent shall provide guidelines, timelines, procedures, and assessment ethics, and then maybe a number 4 that says every 5 years, and monitoring or observation of, I don't know. What did you say you did again?
The one caveat we would also need to add is that part of our plan, and that we're entitled to do, that is in our observation plan, is we also, if we do have concerns with compliance, or there, some LEAs that we may have some issues with, maybe some questions about appropriate assessment practices, or when we have a new assessment that gets launched, sometimes we go to more schools than just what is in that region, because we need to go out and do that. This year is one of the examples. We're observing multiple online schools that aren't in the SCSC region, because our online schools are really here, more in the Wasatch Front. That would be my only question.
We do.
So do you think?
We have when we see hotlines, complaints come in, if we evaluate and elevate our risk or concerns for that LA, we'll schedule observations in those.
Right, and that's already an ability to do that. I just wondered with the category 3, what that.
Oh, that's true.
Backs up with
the new thing.
So I wonder, Chair Booth, if it's, maybe we could move this forward and they can actually, staff could come up with the right language, so we're not trying to do that right now, and then make it as a motion before the full board. Okay. Do you think that would be effective?
It's great.
And then we're not trying on the spot, trying to, you guys think through it, right?
Oh, you don't want to wordsmith? Okay.
I do want to wordsmith, but in this case, I'm a little nervous that I don't know if anybody else has questions. I don't know. Randy, do you have any?
I feel comfortable with that.
We're good. So let's move it forward. Do you have additional information that we should consider?
For the assurance,
Not for 404.
not for 4, well, the 2 proctor role we talked about.
Well, that's an testing.
Yeah, not for 404, sorry.
All right, so.
Looking for a motion?
Yeah.
I will make a motion. Let me pull it up. I make a motion that the committee approve R277404 draft 1 on first reading and forward to the board for approval on second and final reading, and for staff to work on
integrating the audit,
integrating a monitoring component into the or observation.
I mean, the motion is to direct them, and I feel like,
So direct staff to work on a monitoring piece, whatever that is, observation, whatever. So
Does Elise, does that need to include a reference to the testing ethics document, or whoever's writing the?
It's me at the moment.
I might say something. This might be a larger conversation too, about what this looks like now that we're incorporating this line of what category it's in, of whether or not that needs to be in the rule. I think that's a great question that I think is part of a larger conversation about rule writing. So I think an extra month to talk about that will be helpful.
Okay.
Good.
What are your thoughts on the testing ethics document, which is incorporated into the
Do
rule?
we have that with us here?
It is in the backup. It is part of the
We would almost have to approve that too, huh?
Are you making changes to that?
Yes. Referenced in the description of the item, and it's in the backup, the proposed changes.
That needs to be approved by itself. Okay, so before we can even vote on this, right, we need to approve the document that you're going to incorporate first. Those changes need to be approved first before you have approval.
So maybe this is just good. We've had this happen a few times, right? It almost needs to be a separate item, so we're voting on it separate. And maybe, I don't know who that needs to go to.
It looks like it is a separate item.
Is it?
No, I mean, it's not a
No,
separate
it's
item.
just the separate in the backup.
Yes.
Draft standard test
Is
administration.
it this
testing
document,
policy.
Darren?
Yes, and if you'll scroll down,
It's not a
where
separate
it talks
item.
about, we have the definition of the proctor.
Okay, let me look down and check. I was at the assessment meeting.
The license.
Right there. So what we've done is, we haven't eliminated the two proctor requirement, but we've done is the audit recommended. And again, the assessment community has wide support for maintaining two proctors, but we've provided a definition of what the proctor one does and what proctor two's role would be, so that it's really clear now where it lacked clarity before.
Okay, so those are just the two changes then?
Yes.
Let me just read them one real quick. I'm
Any
good with
concerns?
that. We just probably next time, I don't know who sets up let's just make sure we have those things
Similar
separate.
we did with the
Yes.
counseling, so we do the document and then the rules.
Yes.
document.
Okay.
We can do that.
So just next time.
That's just my fault. I'm the one that worked with Ben on doing that.
There's not a, it's a new way.
My error.
It's a new way.
Okay, well,
Okay.
so
I will move then. Let me move then. All right, so the motion is that the committee move the standards test administration do you have it up there? I took it out of
Ethics
classes.
policy and parental.
Yeah, the standard, let's see, recommend that the committee approve the standard test administration and testing ethics policy for Utah educators and parental exclusion form.
But that one doesn't, we didn't talk about the parental exclusion. That one's not incorporated in rule.
So it's just, okay, the committee approved the standard test administration and testing ethics policy for Utah educators. And move to the board for second and final reading.
As amended.
As amended.
Oh, they didn't amend it.
No,
they didn't.
It was just the draft.
Okay.
It was
so it's
draft two, the draft one.
It's draft one.
Do you want me to read this one more time?
The committee approves it as amended.
I move that the committee approve standards assessment, standard test administration and testing ethics policy, draft one, or for educators, draft one, and move and forward to the board for approval on second and final reading.
Yeah.
okay, we have a motion that the committee approves standard test administration and testing ethics policy for Utah educators, draft one, and move forward to the board for approval on second and final reading. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Can we separate these for the full board?
Yeah,
Michelle?
I should be able to do that on.
We have a problem where it's been listed as one. Is it okay to separate those out? I think that's the better way to do it. So, okay.
Okay.
Okay, now are we doing the other half?
Now we need to make the motion to
Yeah, let me look.
have the time to work on that, right?
Well, I've got to move the original motion now, which was
Yeah, the
the
401.
draft for 401. Okay, so I move that, you have it up.
Oh, direct staff.
That the committee approve R 277-404 draft one on first reading and forward to the board for approval on second and final reading and direct staff to work on a monitoring component. That's clear enough for you guys to know,
Yes.
okay?
Okay. So we have a motion that the committee approve R 277-404 draft one on first reading and forward to the board for approval on second and final reading and to direct staff to work on a monitoring component. Any further discussion or questions?
Nope.
Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
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 Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us.
Call on that. So time check. Our meeting was technically over at, is that right?
Yeah, what does it say on there?
It says, no.
I think it was 8:30 to 12, yes, was our original time frame.
The next meeting is at one.
When's next?
And then the next
Starts at 1.
At 1 o'clock is the study session starts, but that would cut your lunch.
So you're at, are you asking how long we want to go? So
It was just a time check. We can just go ahead and start and then just, I didn't know if you wanted to end at noon or if you wanted to go till 12:30 and then we just need to let Jerry know we're going to 12:30.
Emily, Randy, what do you guys want to do?
I mean,
We have, you have how
I'm
many?
good to keep going. Do we feel like we've got the 2 items left, don't we?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so are we doing what, 1.7 first? Or
1.6, yes.
so 1.6, okay.
Yeah.
Great, well, let's do it. What?
So I would, there's 2 places in that dropout prevention language we just used in the other document. I would suggest we use. Okay, so there's 2 places. There's under direct student services and then under dropout prevention on the second page.
It's the response.
Yeah, responsive services part. And I don't know if we want to vote on that separate and just do it right now. So I think it's just.
Vote on it right now to replace.
Great.
Okay, so my motion would be that to strike and social emotional supports, which is listed under direct student services and under dropout prevention. And replace it with responsive, what was it, responsive services and supports? So responsive services and supports, responsive services and supports, okay.
Okay, so we have a motion as it was just expressed so eloquently by Vice Chair Earl. Any concerns or questions? All those in favor, say aye.
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 It's unanimous, okay?
Okay, my next motion is where it says access, we had equity and then it has access, and I would replace that with opportunity. It's under indirect student services is one.
That was the same in the other document.
Yeah, and then also under indirect services again. And then under advocacy and outreach, there's 3 areas, and I think that's the only one, so all 3 of those. So changing that to opportunity. Yep, that's it.
So there were 3 of the, so the first one?
And under indirect student services. Not this one. This
We're
one.
not changing this one?
Well, we are, okay, we are.
Do you want to vote each separately or?
No, you can change it there too. That one would have attendance added, but I can add that later. So everywhere there's access, I guess I would write opportunities. So there's 4 of them, I believe then. I don't know if that was confusing for you.
So if I just say change the word opportunity to access, or access to opportunity in the motion.
4 of them. So it's under indirect, direct, and then under indirect again. Yep. And then under advocacy and outreach. Yep, that's the 4.
That's it. That's right.
Perfect. So now are we gonna vote on that? Okay, so we've replaced access with opportunity. And we've stricken equity and
That was already stricken.
4 locations. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we have 1 no, board member Reel.
Okay, then under direct student services, I would add in the attendance piece because it's achievement, attendance, and behavior are the three indicators for at risk. Do you want to just do that one? That's the only one I have that on, I think. Yeah.
Okay, we're adding attendance on direct student services, so it reads, direct student services include activities that support success for each student. School councils review opportunity. Opportunity achievement, is that one word or?
No, comma.
A comma after opportunity?
That's correct. Thanks all.
Okay. School councils review opportunity, achievement, attendance, and behavior data to inform their decisions about what activities they will deliver to create the most significant impact on student success. Any concerns or questions?
Where were you at on that?
It's under direct student services. Can you, I don't know if you can see it on there. So it would be adding attendance in with the achievement and the behavior components.
I'm not finding that page or that spot. I'm so sorry.
It's the first page on.
The first page.
Okay.
So look down under.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was on page 5. I was in my own realm.
Board Member Green, Andrea is the one making that change. And so if you just click on her icon on the top, it will take you to where she's at in the document and it's
Actually, Elise. That's
or
working on
Elise. Yeah, thank you.
Little Google Docs hack.
It'll just like take you to right where they're at any time. Yep.
Okay, so are we ready to vote? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Hi.
Thank you.
And then
Unanimous.
down under the same, under that direct services where it says identifies the student's skills. I want to add accomplishments, comma, strengths and objectives. And that's 2 provisions that are in the law. That language comes right from the law. Career and technical, our college and career readiness.
Let's just vote on that.
Yeah. Okay.
So just,
Yes.
Okay, ready to vote?
Yes.
We added accomplishments and strengths under plan for college and career readiness, 53E-2-304 means a plan developed by a student and a student's parent guardian in consultation with the school counselor that is initiated at the beginning of grade 7, identifies the student's skills, accomplishments, strengths, and objectives. Any questions or further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
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 Hi.
Thank you, it's unanimous.
Okay, I'm gonna leave this till we get towards the end, but the please note part, I want to make some modifications, but it might take a little bit of, anyways, just leave that for now. So we'll go down to collaborative classroom instruction. Under study skills, I'd like to add organizational skills as well. This, like middle school and high school, this is it. This is it. So I just would recommend we put that there, so.
Okay. Any concerns, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adding organizational skills to all the other skills in collaborative classroom instruction, say aye.
Oh, wait, just did that part. I have another change, so I don't wanna.
Oh, okay.
Can we just add it to the study skills part? I have another modification, but.
Okay, do it.
Do you want me to do it too then?
Yeah.
Okay, and then if we want to divide, we can. So under civic engagement, I would strike the rest of that line, perspective taking and demonstrating deep regard for others, self and others. And what I would put in place of that is caring, let's see, civic engagement, caring and understanding of self and others. And the reason why is, oh, well, I guess I don't have to get a second. I'll tell you the reason why, because perspective taking can be a part of understanding about others. It's like you have tools underneath the care and understanding of self and others. And some of these things are those tools, but it's not, I think that we want to make it the broader discussion on how to care for others and how, right, caring about others and understanding. And sometimes caring about others is really not taking their perspective. It's like oh, I'm just gonna avoid you at recess because we really cannot get along. Or, do you know what I mean? So it's helping provide tools that help to care for and understand about themselves and others. So anyways.
But I wonder if we add empathy and caring and understanding of self and others.
I don't know. Empathy's that, do you know what I mean? That,
I love empathy.
I mean, you do.
Yeah.
It's that debate on
Understanding folks.
What's the debate? It's the debate of we're not empathetic anymore. That's not a human quality.
Dictionary, you know, it's a divisive word for some reason. So
I think let's vote on them separate. Yeah, we can vote on separate. If you wanna add it in, we can vote on those separate if you don't mind.
But can I divide? Can we divide it? Okay.
So first it would be striking the others and then add caring and understanding for self and others. Is that okay?
Well, no, I think the first one is organizational skills. We haven't voted on that yet.
Oh, yeah, okay, listen.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay.
So we're gonna vote just on organizational skills separately. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, and then the second would be.
I didn't hear from
Oh,
Board
yeah.
Member Green.
Oh, I was muted. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, under civic engagement,
And then.
what do we have? So civic engagement, comma.
And caring and oh, I guess if we don't need the and, do we?
So civic engagement, caring and understanding of self and others. Caring. Caring, comma, and understanding of self and others, or is it caring of others and understanding of self? You know, caring of self, that's weird. Caring, and then and understanding of self and others. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
Randy
So
talking that out.
civic engagement, caring, and understanding of self and others. Those in favor, say aye.
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 No.
Aye.
You. One no, Board Member Real.
And then I'll make a motion to reinsert or to insert empathy and keep appreciating diversity.
Oh, broke the system.
Well, it's 12:04.
There you go.
Sit back. Oh, no. Okay, I'm so sorry.
We're still typing, just a second.
Oh, here we are. Guess we should go to lunch. Oh, there we are.
There we go.
Okay, so we have now
So is this,
motion.
is that correct? Member Real on the
says-
screen now?
Appreciating diversity, empathy, caring, and understanding of self and others. Yeah, that's right.
So it says civic engagement, comma, appreciating diversity, comma, empathy, caring, and understanding of self and others.
Didn't transfer correctly.
Any questions or conversation regarding this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, so what do we do in a 2 and 2?
It fails. You have to have a majority.
Thank you.
Okay, then under consultation down below.
So what will it be?
It'll be caring and understanding
Of self.
caring and understanding of self and others. Do you want to wait just a minute? You have another?
I hope we'll have a Mia come to one of our next meetings and see what their definition of diversity is. Okay, so civic engagement, comma, caring, And understanding of self and others. Okay, so are we voting on that now?
We did.
We did.
We did. Just because that's what it became because.
No, we voted. I thought we voted on it.
We voted on it, then we added things
Oh, I
to
see.
it.
Okay, okay, great.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
So down under consultation, and I don't know if I've.
Or may I make a point of order? On dropout prevention, did we change, is that the one you changed?
We did change that one too. Because we changed both of them.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
support it.
So we just bring in the dropout prevention.
We did the opportunity and we put it in 4 places. That's what I said.
Well, the opportunity, but also then when we changed this, right? The
Responsive.
responsive
service.
Yeah.
supports.
Yeah.
You're good. You're doing fine.
And I said the wrong word, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Great.
Under consultation, I just want to be able to, and I don't know that I've got the words right yet. Consultation would also include your parents in there, and it's not in there. So I just am, currently it says, is the process of providing and seeking information and recommendations to or from individuals who can support the student's needs. School counselors both provide and seek consultation to identify strategies to promote student success.
And you want to add family
I
in
just
there?
want to make sure the consultation takes place primarily, it does with the student, but we also usually don't consult without engaging with
You
family.
could put in, from individuals, comma, or yeah, I was gonna, either way.
Okay, so yeah, or do we need to switch that? Because you often would consult with individual students, but you would incorporate families in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter.
A call out in there is great. Let's add that. However it sounds best.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have consultation is the process of providing and seeking information and recommendations to or from families and individuals who can support the student's needs.
Yeah.
Okay, any further question or concern? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
The only other one I have is specific to the please note process, and did you come up with any great? The reason why it's drawing attention to the fact that some things take place in elementary grades, right? That's what it's trying to note. But then it goes on to say, like at the end of it, it says, this includes support and recommendations for exploring services and opportunities available at school and community, making appropriate course selection. So it's then related to upper grades. Do you see what I'm saying? We're trying to say pieces of this are incorporated in elementary school, but then the reference is correlated to what we actually are doing in high school. We don't do course selection with 3rd graders. So, and just making sure it fits the parameters. Does that make sense? So anyways, and I would actually, okay, so this is where I was going. Although the formal plan for college and career readiness is not initiated until 7th grade, school counselors may, and so we would strike a piece there, school counselors may help support academic success for K through 6 students. Maybe that's it.
Or school counselors establish a foundation in K through 6 by, however you want to say it, career fairs or parents coming and speaking in the classroom, or
just even say through tactics of, career,
right.
career exploration
I
tactics
don't
and
think
strategies.
kindergartners are,
Yeah.
maybe exposure is a good word, exposure to.
I just think it has to correlate with there.
I like that.
Opportunities, activities. Just exposure to, and then we have educational career opportunities, expectations for.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't need the expectations or requirements then, right? It just needs exposure to educational and career opportunities.
That's great.
So we could strike that.
And then
This
maybe
includes-
say in secondary grades, this includes, or.
Did you change that to K6?
Yes. You get glasses on, go back and forth here. Okay, so let's see the.
Yes.
Some 6th graders are in middle school.
Yeah.
So that's true.
So you can put 5th, K through 5, right?
Or elementary.
Is not nation. Would elementary be adequate? Primary grades, elementary?
You can say case
Or do we just want, do we have a?
And those K-5 and those students in a sixth grade setting. What is that?
Although there's some who are sixth graders that are in middle school, the college and career readiness plan doesn't start till grade 7.
Yeah,
Oh,
right,
so
that makes sense, okay. Okay, yeah, yeah.
So
So
they could be
experience
in
with
middle
middle
school,
school,
but
but still not to establish foundation. I guess I have just a little bit of an argument, you can tell me if I'm wrong, that we establish a foundation in college and career readiness to help them identify interest, ability. We've created exposure like we had down here, but really in those younger grades, what we are doing is we're creating foundations of academic success so that when they get to those upper grades, that they can then progress further. But then we would leave in the exposure. We would create an exposure to educational and career opportunities. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Can we scroll up to the ones right before that, where it says, please note, where does that?
It's right there.
So. Student services are. Okay, so it says, so we're talking about the plan for college and career readiness initiated at the beginning of grade 7. And then we're saying, although this is about grade 7, here is something that is happening prior to.
Here's what we're considering before
Yes.
this. But we aren't considering career, I mean, we're exposing kids to that, but we're not really having a discussion with, we need to formalize some kind of a plan for you to get into, right? So what we are doing though is making sure they have academic success. So when they arrive at that next point and exposure to ideas and careers and stuff.
So it's not about their interest, abilities, and skills.
No,
it's
not really.
It's about
We're building a foundation of support for their academic success. That's what a counselor would be doing, a school counselor would be doing in that.
So I'm wondering if that is some language that we've had before where it talks about it, you're making sure that there's nothing that inhibits them, or so it's something about the academic or the requirement.
Well, I'm actually not, I don't want them to do more than they have to do in the elementary grades. I don't think they have to go into kindergartners and measure their skill base in order to start on a path for a career in college.
So is it more of a belief statement, which is through the K-6 experience, students will be having a strong academic and whatever foundation that will enable them to access these opportunities at 7th grade level, something like that. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because we aren't expecting all this stuff that we would be doing in the upper grades for college and career ready. What would a counselor be doing? A high school or a elementary counselor would be making sure they're on path for reading and math, right? That's because those are the things that lead to those opportunities in the future.
So what if it's a foundation in academic achievement that opens doors of opportunity? It goes back to our vision, that opens the doors of opportunity starting at 7th grade, something like that.
Yep.
But I like the sorry, Chair.
We do want to leave the exposure.
Could you put that up a little higher so it says like in K through 6 experience in which school counselors offer exposure to, where is the exposure? To educational career opportunities. I just know there's lots of different things they do. And then say throughout, and then include the academic achievement.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's do, if we can move the exposure to educational and career opportunities and move it up where it says K through 6 experience in which school counselors offer exposure to educational and career opportunities. Offer exposure.
Provide
exposure. Provide exposure to career. And then I think we can make a statement. School counselors help students establish a foundation in academic achievement that opens the doors of opportunity for, and then I think some of those other pieces we take out, maybe?
Yeah. Yes.
So we can strike from college and like right after grade, I think we could strike to where? Yeah, that's where I would go. Because we're just simplifying. I would strike that, and then we can read it and see if it, I'll read it out loud, you guys see if it makes sense. So close your eyes, everyone. See if this feels right.
I may never open the meeting.
Please note, although the formal plan, because we were saying this is the plan for the upper grades, right? We're just making a note. Please note, although the formal plan for college and career readiness is not initiated until 7th grade, the plan for college and career readiness process is a K-6 experience in which school counselors provide exposure to educational and career opportunities, future opportunities, and then school counselors help students establish a foundation in academic achievement that opens the door of opportunity for 7th grade.
Can I suggest one thing where it says, the plan for college and career readiness process includes a K-6 experience.
Oh.
Not is a K-6 experience.
Oh, yeah.
Includes a K-6 experience.
Right, and okay.
Without an S.
Probably is to open doors of opportunity.
Open without an S.
Is to open doors of opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's not upset.
Cool. Okay, so the way it reads now is, please note, although the formal plan for college and career readiness is not initiated until grade 7, the plan for college and career readiness process includes a K-6 experience in which school counselors provide exposure to future educational and career opportunities. School counselors help students establish a foundation in an academic achievement that open doors of opportunity beginning in 7th grade.
Yes, foundation that open, although that.
Yeah. It's gotta be open.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a singular,
Oh,
singular
I
foundation.
read the beginning of it.
Great. All right, any further discussion or correction? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. It's
I
unanimous.
don't have any other revisions, so I don't know if anyone else does. That's kind of where.
I don't have any either.
I do.
And
Emily, do you have any?
I
Other
don't.
revisions?
No,
Okay.
so we motion to,
Please.
oh, I gotta pull it up. Make a motion that committee approve the school counselor's services document, right?
And that one is as amended.
As amended.
Thank you. We have a motion that we recommend the board approve the school counselor services document as amended.
As amended and forward to the board for approval, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, the committee approved the school counselor services document draft 2 as amended, forward to the board for approval.
Right. So that motion is before us. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, now
You're super team.
we go back to something. What?
Yeah, board rule.
The board rule.
Or 6.
Great, let's look at that.
Okay. Do you want me to give you the one amendment I have in here would be the dropout prevention efforts, including, and then the same language again.
Chair Booth, sorry. Chair Booth,
Yes.
I just wanna remind the committee that we submitted draft 1 and draft 2 was submitted by board member Carey and board member Hymas. So it would probably be good for us to determine what draft we're going on.
Well, on my amendments,
Worked off of 2 and we would show their amendment.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, good point.
I only see, so if I'm looking at draft 2 correctly, like they had an oversight category added, right?
Yes.
And then
Here. Draft 2 on the rule is not there.
Well, we made a technical edit to add the oversight category. It's in backup, but it's not, it was in backup.
it's here, it's not underlined. I can see it.
Oh, you can?
It is.
I can
It's
see
on
it.
line
It's on line
16 and 17.
Oh, I'm just saying the one I have in the Google Drive that I'm sharing is not.
did they give an
why they added oversight category?
So that's part. We have.
We have to, okay, so I'm just trying to know if there's like major differences between the two, if we can just work off draft 2 or if.
The only item I have is on line 40, and it's just correlating the language with what we just approved in the documents. That's all. That's the only one I had.
Oh, right.
Did we add?
You could also work from draft 2 because it's noted in draft 2 what was changed.
Yeah, right. I know, I just was.
46. So dropout effort. And so my motion would be for dropout prevention efforts, including what was the language we had?
Responsive services.
Responsive
supports.
services and supports. And striking students, social and emotionals. Responsive students and supports.
You're on different lines because you don't have the category.
46.
Okay, sorry, repeat, I just uploaded the right
46,
one.
we would be dropout prevention efforts, including responsive, oh my gosh.
Services.
Responsive services and supports.
Yeah.
Got it.
On which it's 47.
And we'd strike student social and emotional.
We are striking this whole part.
And adding responsive.
No, you're actually just, you're leaving including in.
Okay.
And yes, and then you're leaving supports in. And then you're adding responsive services and.
And.
I think that's it. Unless, I don't know if anybody else has amendments in there.
We need that.
Services.
Can't we just put responsive services, comma, supports and providing? So if you read it all together with the lines. So just a comma after services instead of and.
After services. Yeah.
Yeah, because the next one says providing support.
Now I feel like Carol making these grammatical changes. Here I am.
I think that works.
Take out the responsive services comment, is what they want, and then take out that and.
And supports.
No. Are we leaving the supports in, even though it's on the next line?
Or is that repetitive?
Oh. That's what I thought.
Or you get rid of supports.
Oh,
Except for
We have it in the other.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we have to leave it in because that's the language from the other document. Right?
But what's the next line in the other document? And providing supports.
No.
So do we need to strike that bottom line then? Providing supports for students needs consistent with the program.
I feel like we could just say dropout prevention efforts, including responsive services and providing supports for student needs.
I go with that. Does that work?
Yeah, that's.
And there's on the next line, there's a period before the semicolon.
Which is weird.
49.
Right there. Okay, sweet.
Okay, we have
That's your only amendment?
an amendment.
So then we could do this now and just approve the whole document?
And I don't know, Emily, do you have any additions to this?
Sorry, my mute. I do not.
Yeah, that's.
Let's just do the full motion as amended.
She says, sorry, I didn't.
I know. Yeah, you don't need to be sorry.
You want me to make the
Please
motion?
do that.
I make the motion that the committee approve R277462 draft 2 as amended on first reading and forward to the board for approval on second and final reading.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Oh, was that
Okay.
really quick? It's 462.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
We're good.
And then
All
just
right.
to verify, this is draft 2, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn for lunch.
Good idea.
Let's do it.
And
All right.
it's.
We have an emotion. We have,
Any motion?
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Emily, whether you want to hide or not, we're good.
Hey, Jerry, we're done. You can stop
Oh,
streaming.
I just want to say thank you for letting me be in the galley here. That was really good. And I just appreciate all your advocacy for school counseling because it is such a good thing for kids.
Isn't it so important?
It
Thank you.
really is. But thank you very
Building a
much.
foundation a couple years ago.
And thanks for being here. That's really nice. Great. Sorry if you want. You can tell board member Green. Did you know that burning up?
Yes.
Just support for.
Yes, totally.
Your support of what you're contributing.
I work a lot together.